What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's true father wasn't Minato beat Madara? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. It was sunny in the village hidden in the leaves as the fourth Hokage was out on a mission in disguise while leaving a shadow clone behind to do the work. In the room the clone of Minato Namikaze groaned as he laid his head on the desk. When I became Hokage I didn't expect this much work to be put into it, he said as his eyes slowly started to close and he drifted off to sleep. Minato! Came a shout as Tsunade Senju kicked the door off its hinges, making it embed itself into the wall as Minato shot his head up, being startled out of his sleep. What is Oba-san? He asked, looking at her as he rubbed his eyes. He brought his hands down to look at the slug Sannin. She was average in height and fairly skinny around her waist. But the bust Jiraiya spied on many times was not average, it was big. Big enough to make Jiraiya suffer every time he tried to sneak a peek on them. Speaking of the toad Sannin, he was knocked out, being held over Tsunade's shoulder as she panted angrily. What is it? It's your stupid sensei. She actually threw Jiraiya at Minato, who caught him, but the force of the throw actually sent them both out the window. A second later Minato warped back inside in a flash of yellow as he dropped the unconscious toad Sannin on the desk. What did he do this time? He asked with a groan as he looked out the window. His chair was down there. He was peeking at me and countless other kunoichi. If I didn't send him flying he would have been killed by the others. You need to talk your sensei and do something about this. She stomped out angrily. Minato sighed as he looked at his sensei. Well, I hope I get back from that mission soon before he wakes up, he said as he put his hands into the ramp seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A second Minato was made as the first disappeared in a puff of smoke, sending the news he heard to the real Minato. The real Minato sighed, then continued his mission. He would be there by sunset, but for now he had a mission to complete. Jiraiya, I swear you're gonna get yourself killed. Tsunade was still angry as she trained in a field, turning trees into splinters with her legendary strength. The field she was in was a circular clearing surrounded with boulders and targets. Tsunade was just taking her anger out on the boulders, imagining Jiraiya's face on each boulder. Stupid Jiraiya, she sensed someone watching her and looked. It was the red-hot habanero, Kushina Uzumaki. She was wearing a gray shirt and black pants with an orange jacket on. She had a huge smile on her face as she started to run at Tsunade. Oba-san, you'll never guess what. She stopped feeling Tsunade's anger. Is something the matter? Tsunade shook her head and put a smile on her face. No, not at all. What is it, Kushina? She asked, taking a seat on the boulder she was about to smash. Kushina threw something at her and she caught it. A pregnancy test with a plus on it. I'm pregnant, she said with a squeal. Tsunade's eyes widened as she squealed too. Oh my god, I'm so happy for you. They ran to each other and hugged. What are you gonna name it? She asked, looking at her. I'm not sure. If it was a girl I'd name her Mito after my mother, but if it's a boy I'm not sure, she said, holding a hand over her still flat stomach. Why don't you use Minato's cover name for when he goes on missions? Arashi Kazuma? Tsunade asked. Arashi Kazuma was a fake person Minato created for whenever he went out on missions. No, I'm not sure if it's a good idea, she said. Well, it's not due for another 9 months. Minato and I will figure it out eventually. Tsunade nodded. So what's wrong with you? She asked. Nothing's wrong, she said, looking away. You're a horrible liar, Oba-san, now tell me, she said, putting her hands on her hips. Fine. I caught Jiraiya peeping at me and other kunoichi. If I hadn't sent him flying the other would have murdered him, she said, looking down at the grass. A pair of butterflies were next to each other. The female with pink wings had a bent antenna and the male with blue wings was trying his best to fix it. You're not mad he peeked? She asked and then smiled. You're mad cause he almost got himself killed, because you care about him, Kushina said with the woman's intuition that told her everything. What? I don't care about that stupid, perverted, good-for-nothing white-haired man, she said as her cheeks turned slightly pink at the thought. You called him a man when you could have called him something worse. You like him? She teased, poking her a little. The weird knowing smug smile Kushina was giving her made her put her head down. Yes, I might. Kinda, sort of like him. So what? So maybe you should go out with him and who knows, maybe you will fall in love and be happy like me and Minato, Kushina said with a soft smile. But, no, But, young lady, next time you see him you will ask him out and he'll say, yes, you'll have fun, trust me. Kushina said, starting stern but softening at the end. I don't know what to wear, Tsunade said as she looked at her dirt-covered clothes. I'll help you find a dress, come on. She grabbed Tsunade's hand and pulled her to a store. As sunset came to pass, the Hokage Minato Namikaze, or at this moment, Arashi Kazuma re-entered the village. You're all cleared, Kazuma, go report to the Hokage and you're done. Minato nodded. When he was Arashi Kazuma we wore the standard Jonin uniform with a black cloak and hood underneath, along with a face mask, sunglasses, and a black wig. He sighed knowing the talk he would have to do with his sensei. He stretched and used a regular shunshin to go to his office. When he arrived, his clone and Jiraiya were playing cards. How was your mission, Arashi? Jiraiya asked. Great, but, he took off his black cloak and wig, we need to talk. He walked to a filing cabinet and pulled on his white with red flames Haori and Hokage hat. I'm all ears, he said as the clone disappeared. And you owe me 4,000 yen, he said with a smirk as Minato groaned, just getting the memories. Don't remind me. He groaned, he put a serious face on. Sensei, your peeking has gotten out of hand. This is the 7th time Tsunade caught you in this past month. If you don't make some serious changes I won't let you train my child. This news hit Jiraiya hard. Kushina's pregnant? He asked. Minato nodded with a stern look. He looked down at the floor, genuinely ashamed. I'm sorry. Minato nodded. Not that I condone what you're doing, but why do you keep getting caught? I don't know, I just get distracted, he said looking at the cards in his hands. By who? Each time it was different people, except Tsunade. Minato's eyes widened. Are you letting her catch you? Jiraiya just kept his mouth closed as he nodded. Do you like her? And I don't mean her body, I mean her in general. Jiraiya stayed silent for a long series of moments. Yes, I do. But, he looked up, eyes sad. She hates me. Every time I try to talk to her she leaves, shoots me down, or rejects me before I can get more than a couple of words in. He sighed looking down at the ground again. Minato patted him on the back. Sensei, you should try to get her attention another way. You can try what I tried. He said calmly. Jiraiya laughed a little. Everything you did got you a black eye from Kushina. But seriously, how did you manage to get her to go out with you? I saved her from enemy shinobi, he said, sighing, looking back at all the failed attempts he made trying to get Kushina to love him. Minato's first attempt. Kushina, I got 2 tickets to a movie, wanna come with me? Her first response, no. Minato's 7th attempt. Kushina, I got you a box of chocolates and flowers, I want you to have them. Her 7th response, stop following me. Minato's 11th attempt. Oh Kushina tilde. Pole dance jutsu. Her 11th response, that's it. Minato remembered what happened after that. Ah Kushina-chan tilde. He sighed with his swollen cheek, black eye, and band-aids all over his face. Sensei, I don't think she's interested. That was Kakashi's words after he said that. Well, that won't help, she doesn't need saving. Not a ninja alive can beat her except maybe me, Orochimaru, and you. Jiraiya said, leaning back. Minato's eyes widened. Jiraiya, you're a genius. He said, grabbing a hold of Jiraiya by the shoulders. Huh? What are you talking about? He asked, looking shocked at first. I will attack Tsunade and wear her out. You'll come in and save her. It's perfect, Minato said with a proud grin. Jiraiya's eyes widened. That's just crazy enough to work. I'll go find her and get ready to save her, he said, jumping out the window that was still broken. Minato sighed as he disappeared in a small flash of yellow light. I'm sure this will turn out okay. Jiraiya had found Tsunade walking down the street with a bag in her hands, possibly holding clothes. Jiraiya was on a roof looking down at her. I wonder what's in that bag. Clothes, but what kind? His mind began to wander, but before they could get too perverted he shook his head. Come on Jiraiya, focus, this is not time for. Hey Jiraiya, Tsunade said from behind him. Ah, he shouted as he jumped forward above the path, running in midair. Before he could plummet to the ground, Tsunade jumped across the gap, catching Jiraiya halfway through, carrying him as they landed on the rooftop across the street. Tsunade Heim, he said, looking up at her in surprise. She let him down on his feet as he just looked nervously at her. Hey Jiraiya, there's something I want to ask you, she said, looking at her closed hands. Yes? He asked, looking at her with a questioning look. Will you go out on a date with me? She asked finally. Jiraiya looked shocked for a few moments. Tsunade. She looked at him. Yes, I will. He shouted, running at her faster than she could see as he picked her up and spun her around, chanting, "Yes," over and over again. "Will you go out on a date with me?" she asked finally. Jiraiya looked shocked for a few moments. "Tsunade." She looked at him. "Yes, I will." He shouted, running at her faster than she could see as he picked her up and spun her around, chanting, "Yes," over and over again. After that, they each had gone to their own respectable paths to plan out the date. Tsunade was in her grandfather's mansion, the Senju compound, with Kushina Uzumaki as she got dressed. "Are you sure you'll like this?" Tsunade asked, posing in front of the mirror in various angles to get a good look at each side. "Trust me, he'll like anything you wear, and you look great, trust me." Kushina was greatly entertained with the fact Tsunade was acting like a teenager and she was acting like a mother despite the huge age difference between them. Tsunade must have been in her early 50s while Kushina was in her late 20s. "Where are you gonna meet him?" "Oh, we have the whole evening planned out. We're gonna walk through the town, enjoy the lights of the village. Then we'll find a nice restaurant, eat there. Then walk by the hot springs to see the moon glitter off the water. And finally we'll go to the park." She said with a sigh, "I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I should cancel it." Kushina's eyes widened. "No, don't do that. Tsunade, this is finally your chance to be happy with a life partner. You can't be with Dan, alright? And think about what he would say. He wouldn't want you to make yourself miserable by not finding love. He would tell you to go for it and be happy, please. Don't do this for me, do it for yourself," she said, standing up. Tsunade looked at her with tears in her eyes. "You're right, Kushina." Kushina smiled and hugged her, and she hugged back. "Thank you for being there for me. Anytime, Tsunade, you're family to me. Now go and have fun." "Databane," she said with a smirk. "Databane," she repeated as she got up and started to walk. She was wearing a black satin dress with matching high heels. She was carrying a kunai in her purse along with her money, just in case. She walked out with a bright smile on her face. Jiraiya was in clothes store and the place looked like a war zone. Clothes were sprawled out everywhere. "No, this makes me look stupid," Jiraiya said, throwing an all-white business suit off. Only in his white boxers, he sat on a shoe try-on bench holding his head in his hands. The business owner didn't know what to do. He had tried on almost every combination of clothes since he got here 2 hours ago. He snapped his fingers. "I got it. Follow me, Jiraiya-sama," he said, leading the half-naked Sannin to the back of the store. This was reserved for someone with your body type, but never came to pick it up. "This man was the second Hokage," he said with a smile. Jiraiya's eyes widened. "A suit made for the second Hokage? It's been sitting here since I was a little kid." They made it to the back, and inside a metal briefcase was a very nice pair of black slacks with the kanji for water sewn into the back pockets. White dress socks with little Konoha symbols on them. A black tie with a kanji for second on it. A white dress shirt with sapphire cuff links, and a black blazer with the kanji for water sewn into the back in beautiful cobalt stitching. "Wow," Jiraiya whistled. "Try it on, I promise you won't be disappointed," he said, holding his hands in a prayer, hoping the Sannin would take it. Jiraiya nodded dumbly as he walked to it. He started to get dressed. When he was done, he looked good, really good. "Well, it feels great. Does it look as great?" he asked, looking at the tie with a weird look. "We'll change the tie to say, oil, like your headplate, just leave it here," he said, taking the Sannin's headplate and tie. "You look like 1,000,000 yen, which is ironically how much the suit cost my family to make. It's all made with dyed spider silk. Stronger than steel, it makes for the greatest of shinobi," he said with a smile as Jiraiya's eyes widened at the price. "But if you promise to always shop here, I'll cut the price in half," he said. Jiraiya quickly nodded, forking over the right amount of money. It was 3/4 of his life savings, but it was perfect for his date with Tsunade, the woman he liked since he was a chunin. The owner took the money and handed a large portion back. "Pay me a portion every few months. But for now you need that money for your date. Girls can get expensive, trust me, I know." The owner was immediately hit in the head with a sandal, his wife, who had been cleaning up Jiraiya's mess. "Shut up," she said with a snort as she walked up to Jiraiya and fixed his collar. "Trust me, Jiraiya-sama, women just want to be loved, and if you're dating the one I think you are, then you have to give her space, but still love her more than the average woman." Jiraiya was confused but nodded anyway. "Now go out and have fun," the owner said, putting the new tie on him with the kanji for oil on it as Jiraiya walked out with a bright smile on his face. Nothing could possibly go wrong. right? When Tsunade made it to the beginning of the village marketplace, she waited a little using her hand mirror to make sure her makeup didn't smear. Kushina worked hard on her face for this. She heard the snap of a stick behind her, and it was just a golden retriever dog. He walked past her sniffing the air and was tackled by a red fox into the bushes. Tsunade Heim. Jiraiya called as he ran to her with blue roses. Tsunade gasped, not because of the roses, but him. He looked good. She blushed a little, his eyes were closed as he ran with a large grin. When he was 5 feet from her, he stopped and handed her the roses. His eyes opened and he gasped. "Wow. Tsunade, you look great," he said softly. She blushed as she sniffed the roses to hide her blush. "Thank you, Jiraiya, you look very handsome yourself," she said, making his heart beat faster. "Shall we go?" When they were walking, they would see occasional black streak through the lights, but they didn't hurt anyone and figured the Anbu watching the scenes would take care of it. A man was street performing using advanced fire control to awe people. Tsunade stopped their walk to watch. He was dancing, doing flips, which made it look like he was fighting a dragon made of fire. He did a flip and slipped, messing up as the dragon flew at Tsunade and Jiraiya. The dragon burst into a fox, which grew 9 tails and flowed away from everyone, dissolving into its 9 tails. Tsunade had actually grabbed hold of Jiraiya, who held a seal ready to use a water jutsu, but seeing as it wasn't needed, cancelled his jutsu. Let's keep going," she said as he nodded, walking down the street with his arm around her. The walkway was beautiful and bursting with activity, lanterns, and lights. The people would look at them and smile. Some girls gave Tsunade a gleeful look, happy for her. And Tsunade would give a small wave back, but some girls gave Jiraiya a lustful look. Tsunade looked at them with her scariest glare and they immediately stopped. A few guys were giving a thumbs up to Jiraiya, who smiled back, but some men gave Tsunade a predatorily look. And when Tsunade wasn't looking, he would make a light Rasengan and let it go, making the power spiral outwards, knocking them back from a medium range. He duly noted to test this out in combat later. They made it to the restaurant section of the marketplace. After this would be the hot springs, then they would go to the park. The place they decided to go to was called the Jade Rose Petals. Seeing as they were the Sannin, they didn't need a reservation as were seated immediately. Their waiter was a young red-haired man with a brown mustache. "May I?" A blonde-haired waitress grabbed him by the shoulder. "Actually, for tonight you have dishwashing jobs," she said, dragging him to the back not so gently. Tsunade and Jiraiya just shrugged and started a conversation. The restaurant was grande in one word. Its tables were made especially for couples. The tables were set with paper doors and lit by candle light, showing shadows of people through the doors. Some looked normal, some not. There was one with a familiar pineapple-haired man and a young pregnant woman. "What a drag. How have you been, Tsunadeheim? When we usually talk, it's usually business, but for now you can tell me how your life has been," he asked, looking her in the eye with nothing but warm feelings, no perverseness underneath. "I've been fine. Hey Jiraiya, I've been meaning to ask where you went most of our genin careers. You never told me, or sensei." Tsunade didn't want to bring up Orochimaru now. "I haven't? Oh, I used my first spacetime jutsu, a summoning. But without a contract it." Jiraiya went on and on about his story and training while Tsunade listened intently, learning more and more about him with each passing minute. When their food finally came, Jiraiya had ordered a steak with salad and Tsunade had ordered a set of rice bowls seasoned with spices in hallowed bamboo sections that were cut in half like bowls, along with a green apple called a Qpple, apples with a passionate Q made for couples. Tsunade left it alone as they ate, occasionally sharing bit of their food. Jiraiya would let her have a piece of steak with salad and she would give him some of her rice. When they finished, they both decided to split the bill after a small argument about who would pay. Finally they left, leaving 2 tips, and they were on their way to the hot springs. As they approached, they could hear girls talking in the hot springs. Jiraiya didn't even look at the fence. He just walked with Tsunade, helping her over rocks occasionally. Her feet were killing her when finally her foot slipped on a wet rock and she almost fell. She closed her eyes when she felt her foot slip. She opened them and Jiraiya was looking into her eyes about an inch away. He had caught her. They were both blushing as he helped her back up. She winced as her sprained foot touched the rocks. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, it's just a sprain, whoa." Jiraiya picked her up bridal style. "I'll carry you the rest of the way there to the park." No, it's alright." He just smiled down at her. "I insist." he said, walking over the rocks, till they finally made it to the park just on a hill looking at the bigger than normal full moon. What are we gonna do here? Tsunade asked. Looking around, there was a seesaw, a swing, a bench, and a sandbox. Be kids again, he said, putting her on the swing. Before she could ask what he meant, she felt herself be lightly pushed as she started to swing. She just smiled and enjoyed herself. Jiraiya was enjoying himself too. This was a dream come true. While not completely, his dream's ending had a spicier ending, but he knew he had to be gentle and slow with her. When he felt Chakra's signatures unfamiliar, he turned around and blocked a kunai with one of the cuff links. What's wrong, Jiraiya? Tsunade asked, getting off the swing, wincing a little on her sprained ankle. Jiraiya was in front of her in a second, doing hand seals, summoning jutsu. He called out a green toad big enough for 2 people. Get Tsunade out of here. He commanded, taking the kunai out of Tsunade's purse, blocking other kunai with it. Roger. Jiraiya put Tsunade on the toad. Wait, I can help. The toad leapt far and high, landing on a building a few meters away. Minato, stop it, you don't have to do this. Jiraiya called out. More kunai flew at him. Who's Minato? We're here to kill you, then have fun with your lady friend, said a group of rough ninjas, more like it was their leader who spoke. There were 5 in all. One had a staff, one had a sword, one with a bow and arrow, one had a huge hammer, and the other was empty-handed. This was the Predatory Gang, a group of missing ninja known for their crimes of rape and molestation on women of all ages. Jiraiya saw red when he realized what they wanted to do to Tsunade. Go bear. The bare-handed one ran forward using a complex style of taijutsu Jiraiya had trouble keeping up with. It was just so random. He finally leapt up high and bicycle-kicked Bear 6 times before ending with 2 feet, sending him back and giving him a major concussion he would never recover from. Hamare, you're up. The one with the huge hammer nodded, walking forward, taking a huge swing. Jiraiya made a Rasengan and clashed with hammer. It just spun him around while spinning the hammer too, making him hit Jiraiya hard up into the air. Jiraiya yelled out as he was in pain. As he fell, he did hand signs, needle jizo. His hair covered him, making spikes as he did multiple rolls in midair. Hamare tried to hit him again, but Jiraiya landed onto him, puncturing multiple organs, making a swift death. Yari, you're next. The guy with the staff had screwed on 2 spearheads on each side of his staff as he charged. He managed to get in lucky slashes, but the suit was very strong and protected him perfectly. He charged up a Rasengan and slammed it into Yari, sending him through 2 trees. They landed on top of him and he didn't make a sound. Baruru, you're up. The one with the bow and arrow nodded as he notched an arrow and shot one at Jiraiya's head, Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. The arrow transformed into 10 arrows that flew at Jiraiya. He dodged to the side and threw the kunai, then did hand seals. Gale Wing Palm. He trusted a tunnel of wind, accelerating the kunai to the speed of sound. The kunai went straight through him and he fell, having his heart completely taken out. Bring it, I killed everyone but you, he said, making the bring it on motion with his hand. He started to chuckle. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Around the village 4 women have been raped in the past month. Was that you who raped those women? He asked, looking down, his hair casting a shade over his eyes. Oh, them, yeah, it was me. They didn't even last that long, and neither will you now die. His sword broke into links connected by chains, increasing its react and making it like a whip. Jiraiya picked up Yari's double-pointed spear and held it ready. He swung it as the tip would reach. Jiraiya ducked and ran, spear ready, and slashed at him using a move his sensei taught him. It would cut his chest and head. Yomanda flipped sideways, swing the sword. Jiraiya stabbed his spear into the ground, catching the link and locking it to the ground. Jiraiya roundhouse kicked him hard into a tree. He wasn't there for a second. Jiraiya pinned him by the neck with his elbow. He had a full Rasengan charged up. Give me a reason why I shouldn't kill you. Jiraiya-kun, stop it. Tsunade called as she ran to him. Her. Yomanda shouted, kicking Jiraiya off and launching at Tsunade. No. Jiraiya called out, reaching out to her. Rasengan. Cried out 2 voices. Minato and Kushina came in from both sides. Minato hit him in the back of the head and Kushina hit him right below the belt. Was Kushina's Rasengan purple? The force of both Rasengans were both vast, but Kushina's was stronger as he was sent flying up, flipping head over heels over and over again. The force of the purple Rasengan sent everyone but Kushina flying back. Tsunade sailed through the air, headed toward a tree head first. When a shadow crossed behind her and caught her, the impact was hard. Ah! Jiraiya yelped in pain, he had softened her impact. Tsunade's eyes widened as she looking behind her. One eye was closed and he was panting. "Are you okay, Tsunade-chan?" he asked. His answer was what he always wanted to hear, or more likely feel. She kissed him on the lips gently and pulled back. "Yes, all thanks to you." They got lost in each other's eyes while in the background Minato and Kushina were arguing. "See, I told you if he saved her she would fall for him." Minato said. "Maybe, but you didn't have to attack them. I mean, you were gonna try and maul her as a dog. Then a fire street performer. Them accidentally spill knives on her as a clumsy waiter. Jiraiya could have saved her every time." They continued till Minato had enough, just as she was about to respond that she had to step in every time he silenced her with a passionate kiss. He pulled back and held up a green apple. "Qpple. We'll share it now, let's go home, we're no longer needed here," Kushina said as they disappeared. Whatever happened now between Jiraiya and Tsunade was up to them. Time was easy and peaceful in the village hidden in the leaves. Ever since Jiraiya and Tsunade started dating they have been happier and morale was up as they finished their missions in record times just so they could see each other again. It had been 3 months and in the Hokage's office the Hokage was in trouble. "I want strawberries," Kushina said with a slight edge in her voice. "Right after I get these papers filed away, honey," Minato said, sorting papers. "You get me some strawberries right now." Kushina shouted, eyes red and slitted. Her breathing returned to normal, her eyes turned back to green. "Please, Mina-kun?" she said, giving him the puppy dog eyes. Minato was against the window as he nodded. He opened it and disappeared in a flash of yellow. When he arrived he saw Jiraiya and Tsunade shopping together. "Wow, you two have only been together for 3 months and you're stuck like glue," he said, smirking at them. "Actually, Jiraiya moved into the Senju compound, and I took in an apprentice that we'll both train," Tsunade said with a smile. Jiraiya shot Minato a smile as he held everything. "Both wear back to their normal attires." "Really, who is it?" Minato asked as he picked up some strawberries. "A young chunin by the name of Shizune. She is actually Dan's niece. Tsunade promised to train her as his last wish, and I'm gonna help," Jiraiya said casually. Tsunade didn't look sad at the mention of Dan's name, she just smiled at Jiraiya. Minato was happy for them. "Minato." His face went white. "Hey, pay for these for me, I'll pay you back," he said urgently as he disappeared with the strawberries. Jiraiya laughed as he went to pay for their stiff and a pack of strawberries, explaining the situation vaguely to the clerk who nodded. "He's gonna have his hands full," Tsunade said with a giggle as she squeezed Jiraiya's hand. "Yeah, man, I do not envy him," he said as he gently squeezed her hand back. "Careful what you say, Jiraiya-kun, you might have to do the same," she said jokingly. Jiraiya laughed nervously. "Ahehe." Weeks later Minato and Hiruzen Sarutobi were looking through old files while talking about the happy couple. "Hey, if they get married will Jiraiya take Tsunade's name? I mean, it's more famous than his." Minato paused after saying this. "Hiruzen-sama, what is Jiraiya's last name?" He actually had to stop what he was doing to think. I know he told me once." "Oh my god, you don't know your own student's name?" Minato looked shocked. "What? Of course I do, it's, let's see." He started to rub his chin. Minato could barely contain his laughter. "Oh, shut up. You don't even know your sensei's last name," Hiruzen said accusingly. "I do. It's, wow, I really don't know," he said, astonished at the fact he never once asked. "Let's go check his birth certificate," Hiruzen said as they both disappeared in a puff of white smoke and a small flash of yellow light. When Hiruzen arrived Minato was smirking as he was already looking there, the file cabinet. It was Tsunade's office and right now she was with her boyfriend. "Shut up," Hiruzen said as Minato was about to say, "I got here first." There were 3 file cabinets filled by last name, so they would have to search individually through each file looking for Jiraiya's birth certificate. Shadow clone jutsu. Both of them made 3 clones that got to work looking through each letter. "What are you doing?" a cold voice said behind them. Both frozen and looked at each other, then behind them. Tsunade had her hands folded as she leveled a glare at them. "Well? We're looking for Jiraiya's birth certificate," Hiruzen said in a calm tone. "Why?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. "Hokage stuff," Minato said quickly. "Both of them wear the Hokage, so it should work, right?" Tsunade's glare didn't change as she walked to them, looked at the K section and pulled out the file. If you knew his last name then you wouldn't have found it. She said, walking to her desk pulling out a bottle of sake. You better clean your mess. She leapt out the window. Later, Hiruzen said as he opened the file. Minato got behind him looking over his shoulder. Let's see. Jiraiya, Cami? Hiruzen stopped reading. Where have I heard that name before? Let's see what else. Minato grabbed the file. Says here Jiraiya is afraid of needles. Minato blinked and started to laugh evilly, eyes shining. Hiruzen just left Minato to read about Jiraiya as he shunshined back to his old office to pull up some old records. Hiruzen was looking through the village history files. During the First Shinobi War the Cami clan was almost completely eradicated by the Uchiha clan, but few survivors fled and regained their numbers alongside the Senju clan. He said with a smile, Jiraiya's relatives must have been one of the few. He continued reading. The Cami clan was prominent at time-space jutsu and Hiruzen's eyes widened. The rest of the words were in another language. He couldn't even read it. Aorum sanguinis lineamentum habet imperium super tempus et tractus, sunt capex spanning ingens spatia in incredible tempus et regentum tempori ad auxilium pugnae. What language is this? He asked himself. It's very old and I can't understand it, but I understand one thing. Jiraiya is part of an almost dead clan. Maybe their child will have either Kekkei Genkei. Hiruzen said as he heard Jiraiya's voice. Needles. He shouted, apparently afraid. Then Minato's laughing. Come on Jiraiya, it's time for your shot. Get that thing away from me. Get back here. Hiruzen sighed. Idiots. More time passed and it had been a few more months. It was the beginning of December when Jiraiya and Tsunade were hosting a winter formal party at their house. Everyone important was there. All the clan heads, the council, civilian council, the Hokage and his wife, and all three elders. Himura, Konoha, Danzo, and Hiruzen. They had dinner, small spars, and finally it was time to light fireworks. Jiraiya stood up on his chair and tapped his champagne glass with small metal fork. Everyone socializing stopped talking. Thank you, I would like to thank all of you for coming here tonight, but I have an announcement. Everyone, even Tsunade, looked confused. He got off his chair and Kakashi and Minato came out of the house holding a huge rocket firework. Light it up. Kakashi struck a match and lit the fuse while Minato held it steady. It burst to life, blowing both men back onto their butts as it spun in mid-air, lighting up the sky with a huge boom. The sparks flew around, writing a message in the sky. Tsunade read it as it spelled itself out. Will you marry me, Tsunade Senju? Jiraiya interrupted her on one knee in front of her. Everyone's eyes widened, even Danzo's one eye showed itself. Everything went to seem quiet as Tsunade stared at the ring he was presenting to her. It had 6 small diamonds in line on either side of the bigger diamond in the center. The outside was silver, and the inside was gold with words etched into it. Friends and more forever and ever, she read in her mind. Jiraiya, she said, of course I will. She knelt down and kissed him gently. All the girls squealed and ran to her, congratulating her as Jiraiya put the ring on her finger. Wow, you knew? Kushina asked Minato. No, he just wanted to startle the village with a huge rocket, but the sneaky bastard got an expert to make a proposal rocket. I wonder how he did that. Who do you think? She nudged him and pointed at a smirking Shukaku, gave Jiraiya thumbs up. By the way, why was your proposal so bland compared to this? She asked with a slight edge in her voice, looking at him. What? Minato asked but immediately looked away. She was giving him a death glare. If you thought menstruations makes a girl crazy, pregnancy takes that into Hokage level. He thought and wisely chose not to say. The wedding was scheduled on December 21st, and the next day they would go on a honeymoon to the land of the Moon Island, land of beautiful beaches and casinos. The whole time in between the proposal and the wedding was chaos. Different groups of shinobi with a different Jonin as their leader would take Jiraiya out on parties where something always went wrong. He had been to 7 parties and this was the list of things to go wrong. Party 1, Jiraiya and Asuma were jailed for breaking and almost entering. Apparently he dressed Jiraiya up as Santa and he got stuck in the Uchiha's chimney. Party 2, Jiraiya and Hiruzen had a drinking contest that turned into a real fight, destroying 100,000 yen's worth of damage. Party 3, Jiraiya met Orochimaru and told him the news. As a result he decided not to kill him that day and they played cards till Tsunade came and slapped both of them, where Orochimaru then ran off to plot. Party 4 Jiraiya and Guy ran hella laps around the village for 3 days straight to burn any fat Jiraiya had left on his body. Be fit for your wife, right? Party 5 Jiraiya and all the other older men woke up naked outside the Hyuga compound. This one needs some explaining. Jiraiya, Minato, Asuma, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Guy were outside the Hyuga compound drunk. Hitsuyashi. Both you bastards get out here, we're going clubbing. Asuma shouted. We gotta go in and get him. Let's make a rope with our clothes. Kakashi slurred. Apparently they forgot to tie their clothes together cause the clothes weren't tied together and they passed out right there. Party 6 They got drunk again and robbed the sperm bank, dumping the sperm into the hot springs, turning the water white. But early in the morning the hot springs owner's wife went out for an early dip and now she's pregnant and they have to wait for the baby to be born to see who's father. Party 7 Jiraiya and Minato got drunk and had a friendly race, and took it outside the village, going all over the elemental nation, finally being captured by native people who weren't civilized yet. And this brought them to now. Buka, 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 buka. The natives chanted as Minato and Jiraiya hung upside down over a boiling pot of water with vegetables, pieces of meat, and other spices inside it. You just had tilted to take the shortcut, huh? Jiraiya asked with a glare. Yes, I just had to. Well, how are we gonna get out of this one? He asked as they both started to laugh. Race you out. Minato vanished in a pulse of yellow light, making room for Jiraiya to fall out of the ropes. Jiraiya, wearing gloves, caught himself before he fell into the pot, tasted the soup before he pushed off, landing safely. Taste better than Tsunade's cooking. He turned to the natives. Don't tell her I said that, okay? He waved the natives as he ran and they screamed as they chased him. Summoning jutsu. Gamabunta that day became the god of a tribe now known as the Toad People. And now it is December 21st, the day Jiraiya and Tsunade got married. At the moment they had just started their vows. Jiraiya, if you agree to have me as your wife, I will always love you, provide the support you need, and will protect you to the best of my ability. She said, happily in an all-white wedding dress with multiple clan symbols on the train. If you will accept me as a husband, I will work, strive, and do everything I can to keep you happy. If I can help it, you will never ever feel pain, sadness, or anger again. He vowed. Very well, do you Tsunade Senju take Jiraiya Cami as your lawfully wedded husband, to love and hold dear in time of good and bad? The person marrying them was Hiruzen Sarutobi. The wedding was in a beautiful clearing surrounded by trees and flowers grew everywhere. Everyone was at this wedding. It was special for two Sannin to get married, and people had set up chairs, tables, and buffets. I do, she said with a bright smile. And do you Jiraiya Cami take Tsunade Senju as your lawfully wedded wife, to love and hold in times of good and bad? I do, he said with a very happy smile. Very well, you may kiss the bride. Tsunade threw her arms around his neck and kissed him deeply, while Jiraiya leaned forward, bringing her leg up as he kissed her deeply. Everyone cheered. Tomorrow they would take off to the honeymoon spot to spend 3 days of happiness. Tsunade pulled back and threw the bouquet out to the crowd. The ladies did try to catch it, but it fumbled and fell into young 12-year-old Shizun's hands. She didn't know what to say as other women congratulated her on finding a good husband in the future. Tsunade winked as she blushed in embarrassment. Jiraiya was just plain laughing at her. Shall we go pack? He asked. Let's. They walked off to enjoy themselves. But Hiruzen disappeared in a plume of white smoke. Over the weeks he had been tracing history books and looking for the Cami household where they supposedly kept every time space nen, gen, and taijutsu ever created. And he was very close to finding it yesterday, and now he knew where it was. He reappeared on top of the first Hokage's head. The sunset looked beautiful as a shadows cast over the faces of the first and second Hokage's faces. Going somewhere, old man? Hiruzen turned around. It was Minato. Yeah. Where? He asked simply. He knew what Hiruzen was doing. He was tracing the Cami line through ninja record and he knew where it was too. The Cami library. Shall we go together? He asked as Minato smiled and nodded. They both used wall walking to make it to the two Hokage's faces. The key to opening the passage was to slam both feet on both the first's and second's eye within the same nanosecond. Very difficult if you're not a Cami, in which they could supposedly do things with great time precision, but they did find out what that sentence was. It was an old Cami-only language called Latin. Aorum sanguinis lineamentum habet imperium super tempus et tractus. Sunt capex spanning ingens spatia in incredible tempus et regentem tempori ad auxilium pugnae. It meant, they have been recorded to be able to manipulate time and distort space. They had also found another scroll with two new phrases, non dare in stuporem. It meant, don't give in to astonishment. A Cami phrase that kept them in control of their power for a very short period of time, till this burned paper came from the library as an old forgotten bookmark with this phase was found. Potentia est de potestate o portet interficium anti fiunt ad potens. It was too complex to find the complete meaning, but they did find a few words. Power, necessary, they, and destroy. It was unsettling, but that page came from a burned book filled with Latin written by the clan leader Kurai Cami. They are currently trying to unscramble the language, but have had little to no success. Let's go, Minato said as he and Hiruzen stood on top of the eyes of the first and second Hokages. They jumped up and fell back, forgetting about gravity at the moment. Wow, how do you slam on both eyes at the same time? It's harder than it looks, because if Kamis can control time and space, they're unaffected by gravity supposedly. Hiruzen said. They climbed back to the eyes. Let's try our fist. 3, 2, 1, now. They both slammed their fist into the eyes. They glowed red before old seals revealed themselves. They both smiled. The seals turned light, almost white, blue as they shot beams of chakra at Minato and Hiruzen, knocking them off the mountain. They had been caught off guard. Why didn't that work? Minato shouted to Hiruzen as they flew to the ground. He threw a three-pronged kunai at Hiruzen, who caught it. I don't know. The time needs to be within the same nanosecond. We can't do it. We need a Cami. We need Jiraiya or another Cami. Minato warped to Hiruzen and threw the kunai at a 45-degree angle toward the Senju mansion. He warped to the kunai, catching it, and kept throwing the kunai and warping with Hiruzen till they saw Tsunade and Jiraiya sitting by Tobarama Pond. They both landed in the pond, startling Jiraiya and Tsunade. Jiraiya held a Rasengan at the ready, while Tsunade had taken a stance focused on heavy hits, counters, and dodging. Minato threw the kunai at Jiraiya, who caught it. Minato and Hiruzen warped to them, soaking wet. Sensei, Hokage-sama, what the hell? Tsunade half asked, half shouted. We need to borrow your husband. Hiruzen bowed as Minato threw the kunai at the mountain. Gale wind palm. The kunai flew all the way to the mountain, impaling itself in between the first's and second's heads. Minato grabbed Jiraiya and Hiruzen by the shoulders and warped to the mountain, leaving Tsunade surprised. When they arrived, Hiruzen and Minato stuck to the wall using chakra, and Jiraiya stood on the side of the wall. Why did you guys take me from my new wife? He asked, glaring at them. It's a long and complex story. Better sit, cuz it'll take a while. He couldn't really sit because then they'd have to use extra chakra for their butts. But Jiraiya just nodded and sat down on the side of the wall. Hiruzen and Minato's eyes widened, but just saved it for later. They began explaining everything from them not knowing his last name, to them spending months looking up his lost clan. Jiraiya took it all with a straight, serious face. And now, to get to your clan compound, you have to hit the first's and second's eyes at the same time. Nanoseconds is a factor here. So let me get this straight. You didn't know my name despite being a big part of your lives, held valuable information from me, about my family, and you tried to enter my clan's compound without me knowing. He shouted, you will not see my compound, or know anything about my family ever again. He shouted at them, and I knew about this. All of it. My mom and dad emptied the compound of its jutsu, weapons, and history scrolls when I had to train for the Chunin exams. They have been in the Senju compound for the last 60 years, and you won't see any of it. Jiraiya said, clearly pissed off as he got up and walked when they noticed he wasn't using chakra. I feel like a horrible teacher. Hiruzen said as he left in a shunshin. Minato looked sad as well as he used his Hiraishin to go home. As time passed, they left and came back with bright smiles on their faces. Hiruzen tried to talk to them, but Jiraiya just glared at him and steered Tsunade away from him. Hiruzen later heard through the grapevine that Tsunade was pregnant. Minato has been trying hard to regain his friendly relationship with Jiraiya, but he was still mad at him. Kushina was the one who told Minato that Tsunade was pregnant. Apparently Jiraiya didn't mind Kushina but just chose Minato and Hiruzen as the targets of his understandable anger. Months passed as Kushina and Tsunade progressed with their pregnancies, and Shizune rose up the ranks, now at the age of 12 and a Chunin, passing with flying colors in Hidden Cloud Village's Chunin exams, showing off Tsunade's super strength, great medical skill, and vast knowledge of jutsu. She had also signed the slug contract when Tsunade was moody and demanded she sign it, and she did. She was now practicing combo jutsu with her summons under Jiraiya's teaching. Minato was still sad. He was supposed to learn that next, but Jiraiya still hasn't talked to him yet. Now Kushina was expecting the baby any day now, and Tsunade was now 7 months pregnant. She had taken it well. She took care of every craving, with Jiraiya's help, got the healthiest foods in her, with Shizune's help, and kept herself out of trouble. Minato was in his office while Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kushina, and all the other clan heads' pregnant wives did exercises at the Hyuga compound, when suddenly an overwhelming feeling of dread overcame him. Kushina. He warped to her using the kunai she kept on her to get to them. When he arrived, Tsunade and Jiraiya were trying to calm her. Kushina was screaming as her water had broken. She was covered in transparent orange-red bubbles. "Minato, we gotta get her outta here," Tsunade screamed. "We'll take care of it, just get somewhere safe," Jiraiya said as she nodded and speed walked out. "Minato, we gotta go now." On one hand, Minato was glad Jiraiya was talking to him, but the other hand was slapping him in the face with the urgent stuff. He nodded and took out a 3-pronged kunai. "That's too slow," he shouted, as the whole village went into panic at the feeling of dread the chakra gave out. "I have to use it." Jiraiya took in a deep breath. "Rimanio." The whole world turned light, almost white, blue as Minato, Kushina, sound, and light froze. Jiraiya put his palm on Minato's chest and focused. White pulses raced over Minato's body as he started to gasp and wheeze. "What the heck is going on?" Jiraiya looked him hard in the eyes. "Don't give in to astonishment." Minato froze up but nodded. "We gotta go before this wears off," Jiraiya said, picking up Kushina. "Let's go." Minato nodded, throwing the kunai, and they all warped to a shed where Minato's son would be born. The world returned to its natural color as Kushina's screaming returned louder and more demonic. "Ah!" she screamed in pain. Childbirth was actually the second most painful thing in the world, second only to being burned alive. "I'll deliver the baby. Tsunade taught me how, just in case I had to deliver my own baby," Jiraiya said as he shouted at Minato to get hot water, towels, and a small shelter in which he used a mud wall jutsu. Minato was sitting outside the small tent made of hard-packed mud. "Push, Kushina, push." "Ah, ah, ah." Her voice was getting weaker. He looked inside. A giant red transparent fox was lashing at Jiraiya, who had chakra burns on his face and hands as he was still delivering the baby. He turned to Minato with a scared and urgent look on his face. "Minato, get a medic. Get Shizune or Kushina will die," Jiraiya screamed as loud as he could. Minato's eyes widened as he preformed Hiraishin and Shunshin at such great speeds he was a blur of yellow smoke around the village till he grabbed Shizune and accidentally Tsunade, who was holding onto Shizune at the moment. Minato reappeared exhausted in front of the tent. Save my wife please," Minato begged. Shizune's eyes widened as she quickly nodded, lost for words as she was lost for words. "Oh my god." Tsunade and Minato looked inside. The giant transparent fox had completely engulfed Kushina and Jiraiya. "One last push, come on Kushina," Jiraiya shouted at her. "Ah!" Suddenly the fox vanished, leaving Jiraiya holding a small baby with its umbilical cord still attached to it. RRRRROARRRRR. The world seemed to go quiet. Minato looked out to the horizon. A giant 9-tailed solid fox was 5 miles from the village gates, its tails lashing out, destroying the land with each hit. Because the village had been in panic earlier, they were prepared, and immediately the ninja of the Hidden Leaf village started to hold him back while the citizens went to the evacuation zones inside the Hokage monument. "Shizune!" Jiraiya shouted. She jumped up and worked on healing Kushina, who was hyperventilating. Minato was shocked, scared, surprised, and angry at this whole situation. "Beautiful, isn't it?" He turned around. A man in a black hooded cloak with an orange swirl mask. One eye was showing a spinning Sharingan. "Who the hell are you?" Minato shouted. "Why me? I'm death. Your death, Tsunade's death, Jiraiya's death, Kushina's death, the village's death, and that baby's death. I am Madara Uchiha." he announced, arms opened and wide. Jiraiya had got out of the tent ready to fight alongside Minato. Jiraiya, stay here and protect our wives, I'll handle him. Minato glanced back. Jiraiya nodded and stood guard outside the earth tent. The huge walls of fire sent to the fox where the Uchihas fighting for the village, so they weren't with him. Did you summon that thing? He asked, head down, shadows casting over his eyes. Yes, he dodged to the side as Minato came down with a Rasengan. He smashed the Rasengan into the ground. It should have just made a crater, but the ground cracked and broke, making the two of them fall. They landed in a warehouse-like place. It was a root base, and it still looked clean, meaning it was in use. Minato made a dull note that if he survived this fight he would look into it later. They landed on a platform on multiple stairs going in 4 directions. Minato got up, and his anger was enough to make him forget how tired he was. Are you ready? Madara asked, taking a stance, the Uchiha Interceptor Fist. I am the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. I will kill you for the sake of the village. He was ready to put it all on the line for his village. Bring it. They both ran in at each other. I am the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. I will kill you for the sake of the village. He was ready to put it all on the line for his village. Bring it. They both ran in at each other. Minato came in with a punch as Madara dodged it, going into a crouch behind Minato. Madara sprung up with a roundhouse kick. Minato caught it and kneed Madara in the gut, sending him up an inch. Madara twisted his body, bringing Minato to the floor. Madara got up and tried to axe kick Minato. He flipped up and tried to sweep Madara off his feet, who jumped to dodge. Minato pushed up with his hands, going into a handstand, trying to kick Madara again. Madara caught the kick and flipped him upright, going for a punch to the face. Minato twisted his body around, going for a punch to the face as well. Their fists met and the force between their punches sent them both back. Madara made a hand seal, fire style, fireball jutsu. He blew a huge sphere of fire at Minato, who threw a kunai through the fire. Madara caught it and was hit by a Rasengan as Minato warped to him. Madara spun and warped behind Minato, grabbing him and flipping backward, slamming Minato on his head. Minato laid motionless. Madara snorted as he turned his back on Minato. So much for the 4th Hokage. He felt a dangerous aura behind him. He turned around. Minato was up, eyes blank white and yellow chakra making his body glow. It is third greatest jutsu next to the Hiraishin and Rasengan, Flash Mode. Flash Mode. The ability in which you build your chakra into a series of seals tattooed to your back. It scrambles your molecules and rebuilds the body in less than a second, healing the body of any and all ailments. With the addition of increased strength and speed. Minato pushed back, sticking to the wall of the warehouse and pushing off with great speed, punching Madara hard in the face. Minato warped behind Madara and did a backflip, countering the momentum, keeping Madara in place. Minato reappeared under Madara and kicked him hard into the ceiling with both feet. He pushed to the other wall and pushing back again, hitting Madara in while he fell. He threw Madara off the staired platform and warped above him, and in a yellow blur vanished, repeated ly, appearing under and over Madara, making multiple cuts on Madara with his special kunais. Mangekyo Sharingan. His eye turned to their greatest form, allowing him to see Minato clearly. He caught Minato by the feet and spun with him like a pinwheel and slammed him to the floor, breaking through it into a weird balcony looking over the lower section. The balcony was in a box-like shape with support rail connected to the ceiling holding it up. They both got up. Madara came in for a kick. Minato ducked, but Madara grabbed him and slammed his head through the wall of the box balcony, making it groan under the pressure as Madara stomped on it, making it groan again. Minato kicked Madara back, jumped up, grabbing onto the rail close to the ceiling, breaking it and using it to swing out of the balcony and back, and kicking Madara's head through the other wall. Minato stomped hard and the balcony gave, making the both fall to the lower level. This level had an array raised platforms held by support rails crossing each other in an X shape constantly up and down. Madara and Minato got up at the same time and at the same time again jumped up and kicked each other in the face. Madara got up and ran from Minato. Minato got up and ran at him, leaping to for a punch. Madara turned in mid-air facing Minato, blood clone jutsu. He used his own blood to make a clone that pushed him up out of the way as the clone had his face smashed by Minato's fist. Madara slammed both his fist into Minato, knocking him hard to the ground. Madara made another clone and Minato got up and ran, this time jumping over platforms. The two Madaras ran after him. One leaped forward and latched onto Minato's back. Minato jumped back, slamming the clone into guard rail of the platform, breaking the rails as the whole rig fell on top of them, making black dust fly into the air. Minato and one Madara leapt out of the smoke, both exhausted. They panted in unison and leapt hard at each other, punch meeting punch. The force was enough to blow all the dust away as well as each other. Time seemed to slow, and as quick as it came, it ended. They engaged into a speed and warp battle, disappearing and reappearing with attempts to kill the other. Nobody seemed to be winning. Minato and Madara were moving at such high speeds they were just rebounding off their surroundings, and they appeared into a small cramped area of the lower level, just bouncing around like pinballs. When their punches met on the floor, they were pushing energy, chakra and power into this punch, and in a pulse of black and yellow chakra they vanished. More pulses appeared around the lower level as they moved around the area, completely invisible. With each pulse a part of the lower level was destroyed. They pulsed a few feet away from each other, Madara on his hand and knees and Minato panting, crouching with his hands on his knees. They leapt at each other again as the pulses came again at faster speeds. They got out of the lower levels and just close to the ceiling. The pulse sent them far from each other. Madara made 6 other blood clones and Minato found a double-sided spear wedged in the cracks of the floor. Whoever left it here just helped the Hokage. He picked it up and leapt high toward the Madaras. The 7 Madara leapt to him as well. Minato closed his eyes. Don't give in to astonishment. He heard Jiraiya's words echo into his head. He swung the spear down, stabbing one Madara in the back of the neck. He brought it up, stabbing one Madara in the gut, and bring it back, stabbing another in the back. He tore it through them by swinging up, using it a pull-up bar to kick another with both feet into the air. As he fell, he kicked the last 2 Madaras in the head, making one go into the spear and the other back. Minato pushed off the stairs and snapped the other's neck. The last one was the one he kicked into the air, and he was approaching. Minato caught him by the feet, swung him back and slammed him into the stairs hard. All the other Madaras melted into blood as Madara laid there motionless. Ha ha ha. Ha, ha, ha. Minato panted as he stood strong. He had won. This isn't over, Hokage-sama. Madara phased through the ground like he was falling. We will fight again, but next time I'll bring an army. Minato panted as he fell onto the floor, his vision fading in and out. We'll see, Madara, we'll see. The last thing he saw was Jiraiya and Shizune running to him. Hokage-sama. Minato. His eyes shut close, unconscious. He knew when he woke up his village will be gone or severely damaged. Back in the village, Jiraiya had sent Gamabunta and Shinzune had sent Katsuya to help out with the 9-tailed fox. Katsuya had burst into multiple mini Katsuyas and explained the whole situation about Madara and the Hokage fighting, and now the whole village knew Minato had won, but that was half the battle. The fox was battling Gamabunta with Hiruzen on top of him. Gamabunta, please lend me your ear. I have something I need you to tell Jiraiya and Minato. Hiruzen was in full battle clothes with his black clothes and samurai helmet. Let me hear it, Gramps, he said, dodging a tail smash, and tried to cut it, but it didn't work. Hiruzen started to think it was impossible, but a huge wall of white energy sliced one of the creature's tails clear in half. Not off, half. It was bleeding red chakra as it howled in pain. While it roared, Hiruzen shouted, tackle it and hold him down, I'll finish it in one blow. He shouted whatever that power was just now opened the opportunity to win. Gamabunta had told him about Jiraiya and Kushina's plan to seal the fox away into her child using a seal Minato made for her just in case it got out of her, like now, and now he would invoke that plan. Gamabunta did as told, and Hiruzen performed the hand seals necessary. Demon Death Fuinjutsu. The fox froze up, paralyzed in fear, seeing the Shinigami behind Hiruzen. The Shinigami's arm plunged through Hiruzen and into the fox, grabbing his soul. The fox roared in pain and struggled, but it was hopeless. Hiruzen had a firm hold on him and in one yank separated the body from the soul halfway. This was essential. If he could banish the soul, but seal the chakra into the baby, maybe the baby couldn't be possessed by the fox. He didn't want to let his student and successor down. He screamed in effort. He yanked the soul completely out. Now, he activated the seals all over his body as the fox's chakra flowed into his body, making his skin boil off, but his clothes stayed on. The seal on his helmet sent all the chakra to the baby who was in the shack with Kushina as she drew the seal in and held her crying baby, who was in pain from taking in such vile chakra. I'm sorry my baby, please forgive mama. She whispered quietly, holding her baby Naruto gently. The fox gave one last roar of pain as its body collapsed into a sea of chakra that Hiruzen channeled to the baby, dying as he did so. Gamabun, tell Minato and Jiraiya I'm so sorry, and please tell them, He struggled for his breath. Family and friends come first. He collapsed as he finished using the last of his life force to channel the chakra to the baby. He had no skin and bled out in seconds. Gamabunta sighed. I'll do it, Sandame-sama. He said as he leapt to Jiraiya and the others. It was over. All of it, thanks to Katsuya. Many lives were saved that day. She had stored Tsunade's medical chakra every day since she was pregnant to use in any disaster situation, and thankfully casualties were low. It wasn't that bad for the strongest Biju attack. The front gate was completely destroyed, but it could be repaired. Long ago a nine-tailed fox and its summoner suddenly appeared. The ninjas of the village hidden in the leaves rose up courageously to fight the evil demon, but in the end the third and fourth Hokage stopped the fox and its summoner while sealing the demon's chakra into the Yondaimi's son Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, while the Sandame took the fox's soul at the cost of his own. Ahahaha, catch me if you can, said a young blonde-haired boy as he held paint can. His clothes consisted of black pants with orange diagonal strips going down the legs. He wore a white shirt underneath an orange jacket with black diagonal stripes going down the sleeves. He had 6 whiskers-like lines on his cheeks and a pair of green goggles on his forehead. Please cease what you're doing, honorable Yondaime's child. Ninja shouted as they chased him. Who cares if he's the Yondaime's son, he needs a good spanking. Another shouted as they leapt from ceiling to ceiling. He leapt into the street and blurred off, seemingly jumping again. The ninja followed where they thought he was. But soon the wooden fence revealed the same blonde-haired kid as he dropped a blanket with the same pattern as the fence. As they'll never catch the future Hokage. He laughed. Naruto? He stopped and slowly turned around. It was his mother. Kushina Uzumaki. She looked good. Her wide red hair framed her face as she wore black pants, an orange shirt, and a black apron with the Uzumaki symbol on it. What are you doing out of school? Testing my speed, endurance, and stealth? He guessed. You're supposed to be in school, young man, she said sternly. Mom, it's boring. You and dad already taught me the boring stuff. The only fun thing there was kunai and shuriken practice, and I can do that anywhere. He complained. No whining, Hokages never whine, she said as he nodded. Inside she felt weird saying that since Minato was an exception. Now get to school or no ramen for a week. Naruto's eyes widened as he leapt off to school. Kushina smiled looking at her son's back. She was happy her son was a prankster like she used to be. Unlike Minato, who studied all the time, he was a nerd. But still Naruto took it too far sometimes. She turned around and gasped. The whole Hokage monument was colorful. The Hokages were all painted like clowns. She stared at it for a moment before she started laughing. Her husband was the most ridiculous, but the funniest part was where the fifth's head would have gone. It was crude drawing of Naruto himself. She looked down. She wished she could jump buildings like she used to, but during Naruto's birth her chakra coils were damaged beyond repair. She could never use chakra again. She was very good at taijutsu thanks to Maida Guy, but she retired as a ninja and was a housewife and guard of her children. She had also taken weapons training for the past 6 years, and she was very nice with a sword if she said so herself. She might as well be a samurai, but she could never kill her emotions like all samurai did. Naruto was halfway to school when Iruka caught him. He tried to explain that he was on his way back, but Iruka wasn't gonna take any chances. He tied Naruto up and took him back to the classroom. And here he was sitting being scolded by Iruka. Now I know you know all this, but it's the law, you must be in school if you want to be a ninja. Now take your seat next to Arashi, he said, pinching the bridge of his nose, the center of his scar. He got it in the Kyuubi attack. A huge sharp rock took part of his skin off when the Kyuubi slammed its tail in the building. He lost his parents and hated Madara Uchiha more than anything. The regular Uchiha clan was spared of the village's hate because the fourth Hokage claimed that Madara planned on killing his own family as well, so the Uchihas had mixed feelings about this, at least until they were killed by Itachi Uchiha, who killed all the Uchihas of the village except Sasuke Uchiha, his younger brother. Naruto grumbled as he walked to his seat next to his god brother Arashi Nawaki Senju Cami. He had white unruly hair with one short bang that always fell in front of his right eye. He was wearing his reading glasses, he could read without them, but he got used to them having been born with bad vision. Just recently he had chakra laser eye surgery from his mom, but he was just used to them. He only wore them when he read, and currently he was writing a story in a scroll. The rest of his clothes consisted of a white Chinese button-up tank top, with a white haori, along with dark gray pants, matching socks, and slippers. He rolled his scroll shut tight and pulled the string taut with his teeth and looked at Naruto. "Hey Naruto-kun, I saw what you did, but look." He pointed. Jiraiya and countless toads blasted the mountain's paint off. "Hey, they wear watercolors anyway," Naruto chuckled. "What did I miss, Arashi?" "Nothing as usual, but look around." The room had their classmates in them, nothing looked different. There was the quiet boy Sasuke Uchiha who was staring out the window. Naruto didn't like him while Arashi just kept to himself around him. He didn't know why, but Sasuke put him on edge. Then there was his fangirl, Naruto's crush, and smartest kunoichi of their year, Sakura Haruno. Naruto had a crush on this girl, but Arashi respected her brains as she and Shikamaru were the smartest of their class. Then there was Ino Yamanaka, she was kunai expert, flower expert, and Arashi's fangirl. She was currently staring at him, while he tried not to make eye contact. If he did, she would wave, he would have to wave back. And who knows how she would take that. Next up was the smartest male ninja of their year, Shikamaru Nara. A lazy genius with a talent for Go and Shogi. Naruto was okay with him while Arashi loved playing Go with him. Not so much Shogi, he never understood the rules. Then was the gentle chip-loving Choji Akamichi. He was nice unless you call him fat. He and Arashi were good friends, while Naruto was okay with him. Next was the loud dog lover Kiba Inuzuka and his dog Akamaru. Kiba and Naruto were friends, while Akamaru and Arashi were friends. Then there was Hinata. She had a crush on Naruto that everyone, even Arashi, saw except the blonde knucklehead himself. Next was the quiet bug boy Shino. He and Arashi were best friends since Arashi didn't care if he had bugs inside him or not. Then there was the rest of the class, Tsuyomi Tora. A good friend of Arashi, but Naruto didn't know her well. She was nice to most, but seemed like she was hurting inside. Whatever she was eating at her, she never spoke about it. There was Danielle Tengoku, a young prankster who competed or worked with Naruto to terrorize the village. Arashi steered clear of her after his pen exploded in his face, covering his face in ink a week ago. Author's notes. In case you skipped the author's notes at the beginning like I usually do, the other OCs are 1 year older than Naruto, meaning they were in last year's class like Lee, Neji, and Tenten. So what? Naruto asked. Nothing seemed different. Arashi sighed. Hinata was blushing and looking right at Naruto. He was hoping Naruto would notice, but he did like always. Say, Arashi, how has that jutsu been coming along? He asked. You mean Rimanio? He asked. Naruto nodded. Not good, I keep hyperventilating and I can't hold it for more than 2 seconds. But I did learn Susurrans, he said, smirking. You're getting better, but I'm still gonna beat you no matter what. He said with smirk, I learned shadow clones, and a lot of uses for them. And the training system is gonna make me the greatest shinobi on earth. He said, excited. We'll see, Naruto, we'll see. Arashi had to admit he was jealous of Naruto's ultimate training system. The trick with shadow clones was if your shadow clone learned something and dispelled, you would learn what it learned as well. Arashi only had the chakra to make 2 shadow clones and fight. 3 would tire him out. Don't get him wrong, he used them for homework all the time, but still he couldn't use them in training like Naruto did. Naruto was among the best in class, along with Shikamaru, Mai, Sasuke, Shino. RRRIIINNNGGG. The school bell rung, signaling the end of class. Alright class, tomorrow is the final test. Be sure to study for the written part, and practice substitution, clones, and transformation, as well as the shuriken and kunai test. Iruka announced as everyone walked out. Naruto and Arashi walked out together. Hey Arashi, wanna grab some ramen? Naruto asked with his hands behind his head. No thanks, I have to train and study for the finals. Arashi refused. Ah, you're always studying, he complained. He looked around and spotted Sakura. Hey Sakura, want to have ramen with me? Get lost, Naruto baka, she said. Naruto hung his head in sadness. Arashi walked up behind him, and patted him on the shoulder. Come on Naruto, we'll train and then have a spar. Naruto just nodded and walked ahead. Arashi turned to Ino and Sakura. He really likes you, Sakura. I'm not asking or telling you to return his feelings, but please don't be so harsh with your rejections. See ya Ino and Sakura. Sakura just nodded while Ino waved. Arashi ran after Naruto. They walked together with Arashi constantly cracking jokes trying to cheer up Naruto. Knock knock. Who's there? Naruto said dully. Dishes, Arashi said with a smirk. Dishes who? Naruto looked at him wondering what the punchline would be. Dish is a stupid joke, am I right? He said as Naruto cracked a smile. Yeah, it's a stupid joke, I'll race you. He said pushing Arashi back and running. There ya go, he ran to as they started to leap onto buildings and running along the rooftops. When they arrived, Jiraiya was already training the Hokage Minato how to enter Sage mode. Okay, and you have to make sure you don't tip the balance. Minato's face started to swell like a toad's and Jiraiya whacked him across the face with a black baton. Ah, that hurts, he said with an eye closed. At least his face was back to normal. He and Jiraiya noticed Arashi and Naruto standing there. Your training's over for today, now we gotta train the munchkins. Jiraiya said in a hearty tone. Minato smiled at them. They were currently training on their own, thinking Minato and Jiraiya were still training. Arashi and Naruto were trying to run up the side of a tree. Arashi was 3 steps ahead of Naruto, who was halfway up. Hey kids, over here. Jiraiya called. Naruto flipped of the tree while Arashi kicked off the tree, grabbing a limb and hung by one arm and dropped down on his feet. They jogged over to them. Did you do your homework? They both made a shadow clone. The clones ran off. Consider it done, Arashi said slyly. Yeah, now what jutsu are we both gonna learn today? Naruto asked, excited. Both Jiraiya and Minato looked at each other. Actually, because you're both gonna become full-fledged ninja tomorrow. Jiraiya started. We have decided to split your guys' training. If you two knew the exact same thing each, then you two wouldn't be unique. So Naruto and Arashi, we're gonna split you up. You will each learn something from me, Jiraiya, Kushina, and Tsunade. Naruto, you will learn taijutsu from your mother, and Arashi, your father actually has a gift for you. Jiraiya pulled out a scroll, unrolling it completely with seals over every inch. Naruto and Arashi's eyes widened as a huge puff of smoke filled their vision. When the smoke cleared, Jiraiya was holding an old-looking white katana. It didn't look like anything special. The wrappings were good quality and tight, and the sheath was white. It had a black adjustable strap on the bottom and below the handguard, which was a circle with 12 lines holding the circle. This is a Cami family heirloom. Only the purest of hearts may wield this sword. Its name is Eon. I could never draw this sword, but I have a feeling you might. He handed the sword to his son. He took it and looked at it. It really was just an ordinary katana. He grabbed the handle and the sheath and pulled. It wouldn't budge. He tried it again, nothing. He kept trying and looked up. His dad's face was disappointment. I'm sorry, Dad. He held the sword out to Jiraiya to take. He waved his hand in front of it. No, 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 you keep it. You'll be able to draw it at some point, and if you can't, you can give it to your children. It's a family heirloom, but still we'll make you a sword and you'll take lessons from Kushina-chan. Jiraiya said with a not-so-hearty smile. Arashi just nodded. Minato cleared his throat. Well, Naruto and Arashi, you will learn different jutsu each from me and Jiraiya. And because medical jutsu is important, you'll both learn it from Tsunade. But Arashi, you will later learn her super strength, while Naruto will eventually learn the Rasengan as well as the Hiraishin. Naruto and Arashi looked surprised. A wind blew through the clearing, blowing Arashi's bangs up, showing a blue diamond on his forehead. It had been through ever since he was little. It's been building his chakra in case he would ever have to use meiotic regeneration. She only trusted this technique to her son. She gave Jiraiya one as well, but only Arashi would ever know how to give someone that diamond besides her. Jiraiya's was red and behind his oil headplate. But still Naruto and Arashi were speechless. Jiraiya laughed. Alright, then your training will start after you pass tomorrow. Now get reviewing for your test tomorrow. Naruto and Arashi nodded excitedly. Naruto ran off, but Arashi stood there with the old katana. Jiraiya gave him a sad, knowing smile as he kneeled down in front of him. He took the katana and adjusted the strap and put it on Arashi so he could draw it with his left hand from his back. Forgive me, I thought it would work, he said somberly. Arashi nodded and gave his dad a hug. I'll make you proud. You already have Arashi. He let him go and took off to go review. Naruto and Arashi both made clones. Which kind? Where the difference? Arashi made 3 clones that you could walk through, and Naruto's clones where solid could take and deal damage. Clones, pass. Minato checked that off a list. Arashi held up a hand sign, transform. His body was engulfed in smoke. The smoke cleared and in Arashi's place was Jiraiya. He looks good, Jiraiya said with a smile. Transform. Naruto had transformed into Minato. He looks better, Minato smirked. Transformation, pass. Jiraiya checked off the list. Now time for substitution. Minato took out 4 blood kunais and handed 2 to Jiraiya. Both Naruto and Arashi got ready, now. Jiraiya and Minato threw the kunais, 1 each, and both Naruto and Arashi were replaced with a log each. They reappeared and heard at sound of a kunai cutting the wind. The substituted again, substitution pass. We had to make sure you could do it at a moment's notice, Minato said ignoring the death glares Naruto and Arashi gave them. Alright then just practice your shuriken and kunai targeting and we'll make sure your clones aren't slacking off. Minato instructed as Jiraiya walked away with Minato tagging along. Arashi and Naruto got to practicing, they were gonna pass no matter what. It had been 4 hours since Jiraiya and Minato left the training grounds. After 2 hours the god brothers walked back to Arashi's house and studied there quizzing one another and practicing kunai and shuriken throwing but at the moment Naruto was eating with Arashi in his room while they just talked. It was 8:22 p.m. Arashi? Naruto asked as he took a sip of black tea Tsunade made for them. Arashi responded taking a bite of his rice ball. It was salted, hot, and had slices of meat in it, just how he loved it. Who do you like, in our class? Naruto asked looking at him while Arashi wrote in his story scroll. Everybody, he said not looking up from the scroll. You know what I mean. You mean as a crush? Naruto nodded, nobody yet. I guess I've never really thought about it, and nobody really strikes me with beauty like Sakura has done with yourself. He said rolling the scroll up and tying closed. Naruto just sighed and laid down on the floor looking up at the ceiling. Arashi's room was simple. A bed with a nightstand, 2 dressers with 6 cabinets each, a mirror, and an array of secret panels and openings to hide stuff in. He never told anyone where and what he hid there because there was nothing to hide. Why do you ask? Arashi asked sitting up on his bed looking at him. I need advice, it's embarrassing to talk to with my parents and everyone I've tried is a weirdo about it. Have you tried my parents? Arashi asked tilting his head. No, they'll just blab about it to my parents then they'll talk to me about it. He sighed. True, well maybe I can help? But you don't even like anyone, he said looking at Arashi. Try me. Well it's about Sakura, I mean she's so pretty. Yet she likes Sasuke, and she's rejected you many times, and you're not sure if you should continue to like her and move on. Arashi guessed. Yeah, how did you know? Naruto asked. I'm not stupid. Naruto gave him a look. What? Yes you are. Arashi threw his pillow at him. Naruto thinking it was soft didn't bother to stop it, but felt something hard inside the pillow impact with his cheek. Ah, you're dead. Naruto made 3 clones. Arashi back flipped out a window by his bed and took off running with the 4 Narutos after him. Arashi jumped onto the wall using chakra to momentarily stick on not being a pro at it yet, but it was enough to push off and get on the roof. He ran as Naruto used his clones as help to jump up to the roof. Arashi jumped while turning in mid-air and threw 4 senbon needles at Naruto. Naruto made a clone that got hit, and stopped the needles. He caught the needles and threw them back. Arashi dove to the side into the Bell Arena, a Senju arena used to spar and wake up the relatives. It was a circular stage with posts up in random areas, but toward the back was a gazebo with a giant bell and hammer hanging still and quiet. Naruto jumped off the roof and brought a punch down on Arashi who blocked with both arms. He ran in clone and punched Naruto 3 times in the same spot and jumped back as Naruto fell to his knees. Arashi felt 2 clones grab him from behind and held him still as Naruto got up holding 1 senbon needle. I win. He threw it into Arashi's arm as the clones vanished. Arashi winced as it entered. Damn, that just missed my vein. He gently picked it out and dropped it. Good job dude, Naruto high-fived him. They heard clapping to their side. They both looked. It was Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune. That was nice for a spar. But still Arashi, you could have blocked that, and Naruto, you could have been faster. Tsunade said with a wrinkled brow analyzing their performance. Alright, training is done for today, come on Naruto, time for bed, Kushina said, motioning for him to come closer. Alright, see ya Arashi. Naruto ran to his parents, who put a hand on his shoulder each. See ya Naruto. Arashi waved bye as Minato used Hiraishin to get all three of them home. Well young man, time for you to be in bed too, Tsunade said. Yes mom, see ya dad, Shizune-chan. Arashi ran to his room. Arashi went to bed and fell asleep after brushing his teeth, his eyes closed in the first 30 seconds. I wonder if I'll have that dream again? He thought before he fell asleep. Arashi's eyes opened, he was in a different bed. Alright, I woke by falling asleep. That makes perfect sense, he looked around. He was in this dream again, yup. He looked out into a fog-covered forest. He was in a castle, not the kind the land of fire had, or any other land for that matter. It was an old stone castle with drawbridges, gates, moats, and medieval weapons. He got up out of the bed. He knew this was a dream because he had pinched himself here many times and never felt the pain. But he still needed to be careful. Using the bathroom here had awful results when he woke up. He looked around, his name was engraved into a wooden plaque, Arashi Cami. He had exploded the whole room. It was a lot like his in the real world except older versions of his furniture. He couldn't get out, the door was locked, and he was locked in. The only thing he could do here is sleep on the bed in this room and wake up in the real world with his parents, friends, and freedom. Or he could read the Cami family history book. It was in nothing but Latin and he was taking Latin lessons from his dad, but there were a lot of words he didn't know in the book. But there was a picture of a relative, faded and light brown, but there was sometimes a disturbing picture of a monster next to the relative. The scariest was a giant scarab-like monster that was next to his great X-27 Aunt Mary. Her nickname was Bloody Mary, for some reason the rest he could barely read. But this place was weird, the words he could read were always glowing light, almost white, blue. The rest were black, almost sucking the light out of the room. He stared at the pictures of monsters and family, but shadows crept around the room. He had left the book opened along. He shut it close and dove into the bed before the darkness could take over and fell asleep. He woke up with a jolt, sitting up in his boxers only. He heard someone breathing heavily next to him. He looked, it was Shizune-chan. Ne-chan? Oh, good morning Arashi Oto-oto, she said with a dazed smile. Are you okay? He waved his hand in front of her. She seemed to snap out of a trance. Oh Arashi, I'm fine, but you slept in. There is only 20 minutes before class starts. I'm sorry I forgot to wake you. Arashi's eyes widened as he threw the blanket in the air covering Shizune's vision. When it fell out of her vision, Arashi was fully dressed, pulling the haori on. Come on Ne-chan, I got eat something really quick, then you got take me there using Shunshin. Arashi said quickly, running out of his room. How did he do that? She wondered as she bit her lip. She was still shaken at what she just saw. Shizune was watching Arashi as he slept. It was around 5:30, 10 minutes before he usually woke up. She just decided to wait. She looked around his room. Not snooping, just checking for any inappropriate thing. She found one of his secret storages and hesitated opening it, but curiosity got the best of her as she opened it. Inside was a transparent book. She reached out to it and it felt solid, yet she could see right through it. She opened it and immediately pictures of monsters, animal, and horrible beast filled her vision. She tried to close the book, but it was difficult. Suddenly Arashi woke up and the book disappeared. She looked at the clock, 6:35. She had seen monsters for 1 whole hour, but it felt like 5 minutes. Ne-chan? Ne-chan. She heard Arashi call to her. She shook her head and ran downstairs. Arashi had finished eating and was holding Eon the sword, and he put it on his back. Let's go, or I'll be late. Shizune nodded and grabbed his hand and they vanished in a plume of smoke. They appeared inside the classroom. Everyone's eyes were on them. Sorry I'm late, Arashi said quickly while Shizune bowed to the students. She was now a Jonin, with the standard Jonin uniform and waist pack. She was a tough one, on the level of Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, and Kurenai. She was friends with all the girl Anbu and Jonin. Since she saved Kushina, she was a special Jonin as a promotion. Just take your seat, you're 5 minutes from being late. Thank you Shizune-sama. Iruka said as she walked out. Arashi sat down next to Naruto, who then proceeded to poke and prod him comically with questions about why he was late. So why were you late, huh? I slept in, simple. Shush, he said as Iruka cleared his throat. Alright student, this is the make or break it day. You will break off into groups of 2, boy and girls. I will test the girls while my assistant for the day and longtime friend Mizuki will test the boys. 5-minute last-minute checkup, then we will begin, Iruka said as Mizuki sat to the side with a kind smile as he looked at Naruto or Arashi, or both. Arashi got up and quickly checked his pockets, kunai check, shuriken check, scrolls check, and Eon. He grabbed Eon's handle and tried to draw him, but again the whole thing lifted, it wouldn't budge. He had researched his sword in the Cami library, only those with a true pure heart could be its wielder, and only those with pure intentions could draw Eon. But the rest was covered in dry blood, someone died in the library, it freaked Arashi out a little. Naruto had done the same, right, we're ready to pass. Naruto said confidently as they high-fived. Oh really? We'll see about that, Mizuki said kindly as he announced for all the boys to come with him. Cakewalk, Arashi said slyly with an unusual grin on his face. Naruto gave his best friends a worried look. While the girls have their jutsu test, we will start with kunai and shuriken, Mizuki said simply as he walked them to the dummies. Some moved, others stood still. The test is simple, kill the dummy as if he were an enemy ninja. Shino Aburame will go first, you have 10 kunai and 10 shuriken. It went off with everyone passing, but Arashi, Sasuke, and Naruto were the final 3. Arashi was held back because he was using the restroom when his turn came up, and Mizuki made him do his test last. Sasuke walked up to the line, you couldn't pass it to throw. He threw one at a time making all 20 shots. Pass, Naruto's turn came up. He took a deep breath and threw all of them. They all curved and hit all the bull's eyes. Sasuke's eyes widened, which then formed into a sour frown. Good job Naruto, you passed that section. Arashi, you're next. Arashi nodded as he took the kunai and shuriken and ran into the woods next to the dummy. Kunai and shuriken came out of the shadows missing bull's eyes, but all 20 hit the dummy. Arashi walked out of the woods with a grin, that unusual grin. I'm sorry Arashi, you failed that section, he said apologetically. No I didn't, that test was to kill the dummy like it was an enemy ninja, not hit the bull's eyes. If it were an enemy ninja he would have died 20 out of 20 times with a bleed out time of 3 to 10 second maximum. When your mother is a doctor, no the greatest doctor, she tends to make you study about death points. Arashi said with a grin. Mizuki too another look at the dummy, it was true. Everywhere Arashi hit could kill in 10 seconds or less, from hitting vital organs with kunai or cutting major blood vessels with shuriken. The dummy would never breathe again if it were alive. Wow, that was very smart of you Arashi, you pass. Arashi seemed to calm down and his innocent look came back on with a smile. Thank you, he said bowing. Way to go, but still you have to teach me where those points are. Are you willing to study? Arashi asked looking at him with a raised eyebrow. Teach my shadow clone with yours and W. Fight me, Naruto was interrupted by Sasuke Uchiha. Excuse me? Arashi asked. Both of you, fight me. He said, no, he demanded. Why? Naruto asked with a bored look in his eyes as he picked his ear. So I can prove that I'm the superior shinobi here. The Uchiha clan is the best there is. Sasuke explained. Yet they were killed by one man, Arashi retorted with a snicker as Naruto held in his laughter. Sasuke grounded his teeth then like he got an idea stopped and smirked. But the Cami clan was wiped out by the Uchiha. Don't you want to avenge them? No, he said looking down at the grass. Sasuke's eyes widened. That was a lose of war, it could have easily been the other way around. I don't blame the Uchiha. I blame war. Arashi turned to walk away. Sasuke's anger rose as he ran at Arashi and swung a kick at him. Thud, Naruto caught the kick. If you're going to hurt someone while their back is turned, never ever try it on my god brother, especially in front of me. Naruto lifted Sasuke's leg up high and kicked him in bad place. Sasuke screamed out loud, but it was a higher pitch than normal. Mizuki ran out and stopped right in front of Arashi. What happened? Teme here wanted to fight Arashi, and Arashi walked away. Sasu-chan then tried to attack him from behind and I made sure he never tries that again. I kicked him in the nads, now can we continue? It's true, Arashi said as he and Naruto walked in leaving Sasuke to Mizuki. After that the tests were easy and boring, at least everyone passed this year, cool huh? But that didn't mean Arashi and Naruto were off the hook. A parent-teacher conference was held right after school. Now they were all getting barbecued to celebrate. That's where they were now. Thankfully the restaurant had reservations for Minato and Jiraiya and set some meat aside for them while the Akamichis ate the rest. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Arashi were sitting on one side while Minato, Kushina, and Naruto were on the other. Alright, time for presents. Jiraiya announced. Right, here is Naruto's present. Kushina handed Naruto 2 wrapped scrolls. His eyes widened as he was about to tear into it, but he remembered his manners. Thank you Mom and Dad. He carefully undid the wrapper and slid the scroll out and opened it. Water style, water whip. Wow, he opened the second one, wind style, gale wind palm. I love you guys. He gave his parents a hug as best he could from his spot sitting down. Alright, Arashi's turn, Tsunade said as Arashi just looked happy to be here. Here son. Jiraiya took out a long wrapped package from underneath the rug and handed it to Arashi. Gratias, thank you. Arashi unwrapped it and it was a brand new katana. The sheath was a fine polished white with a shine to it. The handle was well binded with black wrappings, and the handguard was shaped like circle like a S. Except the curves curved more, almost making a complete circle. That's an Anbu sword, made for killing. If you don't want to kill someone or had to defend yourself then don't draw it. Kushina said with a dead serious look in her eyes. Arashi gulped and nodded. He brought the blade up just a little to see if it was already sharp. It was sharpened and ready to kill. He gulped again. Thank you. Kushina nodded as his smile came back. Now it's getting late. Naruto nudged Kushina. Oh right, Arashi, would you like to stay for the night? Naruto wants to train right away, and we adults are planning on going out more anyway. Sure. Arashi and Naruto brofisted. Jiraiya and Minato split the bill. Alright Naruto, Arashi, don't stay up too late. You're getting your team tomorrow. Naruto and Arashi nodded, and in a flash of yellow light the kids were brought back to the Hokage mansion by Minato and he flashed back to the other adults. Right, let's get started. Naruto opened the wind scroll and started to practice the hand signs. Arashi drew the sword and sheathed it again. He was practicing his draw, and he didn't want to just mess around with this deadly piece of metal. He drew it and sheathed it again. After 30 minutes they saw ninja jumped overhead. Naruto and Arashi looked at each other. They followed the ninja and it led them to Minato, Naruto's father. The Chunin Academy instructor has stolen the Forbidden Scroll and kidnapped Sasuke Uchiha. Martial law is in place. I don't want to fly escaping this village while that scroll and boy are still stolen. Get searching. Hi Hokage-sama. All the ninjas shouted and all disappeared. Naruto and Arashi looked at each other. Minato didn't notice them and they managed to jump away with the other ninja. We need to find Mizuki, let's search the forest, Naruto said with a serious look. Arashi's eyes were dazed and seemingly nowhere. Arashi? He didn't answer, he just pushed off the ceiling, headed in a different direction. Hey! Naruto chased Arashi. Mizuki panted as he held the Forbidden Scroll in one hand and a tied-up Sasuke in one hand as he hid behind a tree. Ninja had just passed his hiding spot. Well, Orochimaru-sama will be pleased. Shame I couldn't get the Cami brat like Orochimaru wanted. But oh well, he wanted one or the other. He chuckled as Sasuke struggled against his bonds. Shut up. Hey! Arashi jumped on a branch and flipped over it to the ground, landing on his knees. Naruto landed on the branch Arashi flipped over. What's this? The Kyuubi brat, the Sannin spawn? Kyuubi? Sannin spawn? Arashi finally spoke, still on his knees. Oh, you didn't know? Well, some great parents you have. Naruto, do you know what happened the day you were born? The Kyuubi attack. The third Hokage sealed the demon's chakra in me while he took the soul at the cost of his own. Wrong. The third Hokage just sealed away your power. You're the Kyuubi, and I have proof. He took out a necklace with an upside-down ruby star in a black metal circle. It gave off a demonic aura. Naruto's eyes widened like he had been punched as he fell off the branch on his hands and knees. This is a demon magnet, meant to draw out one's most evil powers. And yours are the kind I need as a distraction. Naruto started to gasp in pain as his eyes turned red and red transparent bubbles started to form on his body. Mizuki put it on Naruto, who screamed in pain and effort as the bubble receded. He was holding the power back by willpower. Stop it! Arashi shouted. He had Eon on his back and his new katana in his hands. Hee hee ha. Ha 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 ha. Who's gonna stop me? You? Mizuki laughed as glowing red marks came from his neck and covered his face, turning black. His chakra became purple and visible. I'll destroy you with Orochimaru's gift. Wrong. The third Hokage just sealed away your power. You're the Kyuubi, and I have proof. He took out a necklace with an upside-down ruby star in a black metal circle. It gave off a demonic aura. Naruto's eyes widened like he had been punched as he fell off the branch on his hands and knees. This is a demon magnet, meant to draw out one's most evil powers. And yours are the kind I need as a distraction. Naruto started to gasp in pain as his eyes turned red and red transparent bubbles started to form on his body. Mizuki put it on Naruto, who screamed in pain and effort as the bubble receded. He was holding the power back by willpower. Stop it! Arashi shouted. He had Eon on his back and his new katana in his hands. Hee ha. Ha 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 ha. Who's gonna stop me? You? Mizuki laughed as glowing red marks came from his neck and covered his face, turning black. His chakra became purple and visible. I'll destroy you with Orochimaru's gift. Arashi took a shaky step back, but brought his foot up and stomped it hard into the ground and closed his eyes. I will defeat you with my gift. He drew his Anbu katana. And remembered all the moves and techniques Kushina used when he watched her train during a session with Minato. Haha, Mizuki blurred out of sight and appeared over Arashi halfway through, delivering an axe kick. Arashi sidestepped it, got behind Mizuki and slashed him across the back. Mizuki gritted his teeth and tried to plunge his hand through Arashi, but again Arashi sidestepped it and slashed him again, making an X on his back. Arg! Mizuki grabbed Arashi by the shirt and threw him across the clearing. Arashi rolled head over feet till he hit a tree on his back standing. Mizuki blurred in front of him, punch ready. Arashi fell to his butt, ducking under his punch as Mizuki's hand went through the tray, making a hole. Mizuki was struggling to pull his hand free. Arashi took the chance. He raised his sword high. He was gonna finish this now. Mizuki shouted as Arashi brought it down. Blood sprayed on the floor. Arashi was looking down. He couldn't do it. He had just slashed Mizuki's shoulder. Mizuki's shout turned to a growl as he ripped his hand free and punched Arashi far. Arashi flew through the air, sword flying free. It landed right next to Sasuke's face, who was watching the fight. He wanted the power Mizuki had. He started to work the ropes against the blade, sawing the ropes. Arashi rolled back, finally stopping next to Naruto, who was fading in and out of consciousness, trying to suppress the Kyuubi's chakra. Why didn't you finish him? Naruto half growled, half panted. I couldn't. Arashi said sadly. He could take someone's life like that. Arashi, you had to do this, it's the only way. He said as Mizuki came in front of Naruto and punched him hard. Come on Kyuubi brat, transform to your true form. He shouted. Naruto gasped his pain. Mizuki started to stomp on Naruto. Stop! Arashi screamed, ran at Mizuki and tried to tackle him, only making him scoot back a few feet while Arashi continued to try and push him. Mizuki chuckled and kneed Arashi in the gut and pushed him back, sending him back to Naruto. Weak, without a sword you're nothing. There is a reason why your title is the Sannin spawn, because that's all anyone sees you as. They don't see Arashi, they see the son of Jiraiya and Tsunade. Without their support you would be nothing, that's all you are without your title. He said, waiting for Arashi's next move. Maybe that's true, but I will prove them wrong. I am Arashi no Waki Senju Cami, and I will protect my brother at the cost of my life. Arashi gripped Eon's handle and prayed to every deity he had ever heard of that he could draw Eon. The sword slid out of its sheath with a sharp silver tone. Arashi's eyes widened. The blade had completely come out. He held it as it seemed to vibrate in his hand. Push your chakra into me, he heard a voice in his head. He didn't have time to think about it, he just did as told. The handle seemed to grow warm as the end of it sprayed his chakra out like a jet pushing forward. Arashi struggled to hold it steady. That's new. Well, you're not the only one with an ace up his sleeve. Mizuki took out a vial with red liquid inside it. He bit the cork and pulled it out and drank the liquid. He doubled over and his breathing became labored. Arashi, Naruto. Arashi looked up. It was Iruka-sensei. He was on a branch looking at them. Is that Mizuki? Where's Sasuke and the scroll? The scroll is with Sasuke, Arashi said, looking at Sasuke. Sasuke was reading GTHE Forbidden Scroll. Sasuke. Iruka leapt over to him. What are you doing? Becoming stronger, now watch I'll finish Mizuki in one move. Sasuke said confidently. He leapt high in the air. Fire style, meteor shower. He launched 3 huge spheres of fire down on top of Mizuki, making 3 huge craters. Sasuke's skin turned pale as he fell to the ground. Iruka jumped up and caught him. "You idiot, you didn't have enough chakra for that jutsu." Iruka shouted, but it was no use. Sasuke was unconscious. "Well, at least he did it. Iruka, help me," Arashi said as he grabbed the necklace of Naruto, who was close to passing out as well. Arashi took it off him. He threw it up in the air and used the chakra jet in Aeon to give him extra power to break the ruby necklace. Naruto went silent as he passed out. Arashi kneeled down and checked his pulse. "Naruto, you're stronger than all of us if you can hold back a demon as strong as the Kyuubi." Arashi was proud of his god brother. "Yes, he is," Iruka said with a relived tone as he had the scroll on his back and Sasuke under one arm. "Give me Naruto, I'll carry them both." Arashi nodded. He lifted Naruto and put him under Iruka's other arm. Iruka jumped up on top of the branch. Arashi jumped up to follow him. No. An orange blur jumped from tree to tree and smashed a huge fist into Arashi. He flew down into the crater. "Arashi," Iruka shouted. He crawled out of the crater. "Get them out of here and call my parents." He called to Iruka. "I'll stay alive now, go." Iruka nodded and leapt off. Mizuki landed with his tiger-like body. "You made me lose Sasuke, now you'll replace him as Orochimaru's new vessel," he said, pointing at Arashi. "Does he expect me to say, 'Yes, I'll follow you'?" Arashi wondered. "Like hell you are." He ran away using the chakra jet in Aeon's handle to run and leapt faster and farther. He weaved in and out of the way of trees, avoiding the orange blur that was Mizuki. Mizuki was about to grab him, but Arashi blasted off to the right and Mizuki slammed into a tree. "I wonder." Arashi used the jet as a help to jump onto a tree. He jumped high above the trees with Aeon's help. He held onto the blade and pushed as much chakra into it as he could, and he blasted off at an angle. He was flying. Arashi couldn't believe it. He could see Mizuki running underneath him on the ground. "What's wrong, kitty can get up this high?" Arashi taunted. Mizuki roared and jumped high, missing Arashi by few feet, almost. Mizuki roared again and jumped to a tree and jumped high again. This time he would make it. Arashi tried to change directions, but he didn't know how. Mizuki grabbed him. Arashi held tight onto his sword and pushed more chakra through it. The chakra was leaving burns on Mizuki's skin as well as Arashi's. Arashi gritted high teeth in pain while Mizuki roared again. Just as they fell, Arashi felt a whoosh and he felt warm arms holding him. His eyes fluttered from chakra exhaustion and pain, but he managed to look around. He was in his mother's arms. His father was standing next to Tsunade. Neither of them looked happy. They had substituted Arashi with a log, which Mizuki was currently holding. "Mom? Dad?" Arashi spoke. Shush, mom's here, she'll protect you," Tsunade said, rocking him back and forth. "Tsunade, just keep him safe and heal him, I'll handle Mizuki," Jiraiya said in a strained voice as he held his anger back. "Dad, look." Jiraiya looked and his eyes widened. "I drew Aeon," Arashi said with a smile as he passed out. The last thing he saw was his mother's glowing green hand. Arashi woke up with a jolt. He looked around, and he was in the hospital. He looked to his left. Naruto and Sasuke were here as well. Hundreds of gifts were here for the last Uchiha, the Honorable Yondaimi's son, and the Sannin spawn. He sighed. The Sannin spawn? When will I be recognized as Arashi Cami? He looked to his right. The window's curtains were covering outside and Aeon was sheathed in the corner next to Arashi Anbu katana. He reached and grabbed Aeon. He pulled the handle. It didn't budge. "You talked to me, I know you did. What must I do to prove myself?" He didn't get anything in response. Arashi sighed and put Aeon back in the corner. And laid back down. "How long have I been asleep?" He didn't get an answer as he fell back asleep. When he woke up he was in the castle bed again, but this time he wasn't alone. He sat up. A woman with white hair and black eyes was at the desk reading the family history book. "Huh? Who are you?" She stopped and got up. She was in a black dress, black boots, and black stockings. She glared at him. She apparently didn't want to mess around. "Who am I?" "I'm the one who saved your life. I am Aeon," she said sharply. Arashi's eyes widened. His mouth opened and closed again, not finding any words. She rolled her eyes. "Yes, I'm a girl. I'm the spirit of Aeon. My soul is tied to this sword and I control its functions. Arashi shook his head. What must I do to be your wielder? She glared harder at him. He leaned back, a little intimidated. Why are you asking me? Not everything will be handed to you. Prove to me you're worthy of being my wielder. You're lucky I let your hands draw me the other night. Now leave this place and train with a sword. I saw you swing that gift of a sword like it was some toy. Get skill and maybe I'll consider letting you draw me again. Now be gone. She pushed him into the bed and he woke up with a start in the hospital again. He looked at the clock, 3:12 p.m., Sasuke and Naruto's beds were empty. He got up. He was only in a hospital gown and he didn't see his clothes around. He looked through drawers and found only more gowns. He took the one he had on off. He put it on backwards showing his front, and then put a second one on correctly covering both sides. He put Aeon on his back and held his sheathed Anbu katana in his hand as he opened the door. Nobody was around, and the hospital was lit by the open windows. He walked through the halls looking for someone. He heard noises downstairs and ran down them. A lot of people were gathered there. Calm down, we will announce the teams for Iruka's class once Arashi is awake. Minato said, trying to have everyone calm down. I'm here, Arashi said, walking into the lobby. Ino blushed as she and everyone else crowded around him. Dude, how are you still alive? Kiba asked. Is it true you flew? Ino asked. Are you alright? Tsuyomi asked. Cool sword. Danielle chimed in. Hey, Minato shouted, getting everyone's attention. We will now announce the teams. Team 1 and 6 are still in effect from 2 years ago, while Team 2, 3, 4, and 9 are in effect from last year. So I will start with Team 5. It will be Tsuyomi Tora, Arashi Cami, and Danielle Tengoku. Your Jonin sensei will be Shizune Senju. Ino looked devastated. Team 7 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno. Naruto looked happy. He was in his normal clothes, as was Sasuke. He looked a little pale, but fine nonetheless. And Sasuke Uchiha. Your team leader will be Kakashi Hitaki. Next is Team 8. It will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Your team leader will be Kurenai Yuhi. Team 10 will be Choji Akamichi, Shikamaru Nara, and Ino Yamanaka. Ino put her head down on a desk in despair. It'll be alright, Ino-san, Arashi said with a smile as he patted her on the back. She blushed and nodded, feeling better. Your leader will be Asuma Sarutobi. Now please stay here and wait for your sensei. Arashi, your parents will also be here shortly to get you your clothes. Arashi nodded as Minato ruffled Naruto's hair, making him pout as Minato laughed and disappeared in a flash of yellow light. Well, that was eventful, Naruto remarked. Arashi, tell us exactly how it happened, Ino suggested. Everyone crowded around him while Kiba pushed him onto a chair to stand on. Alright then. Naruto and I had just left a parent-teacher conference with our parents and we went out for barbecue, he started. I saw you guys, Choji said as everyone shushed him. Sasuke wasn't listening. He just waited to hear about what happened after. Arashi went on and on about the tale. Then as I taunted Mizuki more and more, he jumped on top of a tree and jumped higher than usual. He got me. Everyone gasped, totally into the story. The Jonin senseis had been there ever since Arashi got to the part where they found Mizuki, and they were into the story as well. Kakashi held a finger on his page but didn't put it away completely. Everyone knew about Naruto's extraordinary willpower to hold a demon back and Sasuke's new super powerful jutsu. We fell to the floor, and just before we landed I felt a whoosh as I was substituted with a log by my mom Tsunade. Mizuki was left with a log as my dad Jiraiya took care of him while my mother healed me. I passed out when she started, and since they are fine I'm sure Mizuki must have been taken care of. Everyone smiled, glad their friend was alright. Wait, where is the sword that let you fly? Kiba asked. Right here, only those with pure intentions can draw it. I wanted to protect my friend so I drew it, but I've yet to prove myself worthy as a wielder to Aeon yet, so I can't draw it anymore. He tried to draw Aeon, but it didn't budge. Well then, if Team 7 would follow me to the roof please, Kakashi said as he walked toward the stairs and vanished in a poof of smoke. The senseis all called their teams and went off in various directions. Shizune was last. We will wait here because Arashi has yet to get his clothes, and call me Shizune sensei, she said, looking at them, but spoke the second part directly to Arashi, who nodded. Sure. The senseis all called their teams and went off in various directions. Shizune was last. We will wait here because Arashi has yet to get his clothes, and call me Shizune-sensei. She said looking at them but spoke the second part directly to Arashi who nodded. Sure. Shizune sat with the three of them in the hospital lobby. Introduce yourself to me and your teammates, she said sitting in the chair of the lobby. Three of them shifted uncomfortably. How do we start? Tsuyomi asked a little unsure. Why don't you give us an example? Danielle asked. Shizune thought for a few moments. Hello, my name is Shizune Senju, I am 24 years old, a Jonin instructor, and my likes include sushi, training in the medical field, and my family. My dislikes are perverts, ramen, and cold coffee or tea. My goal in life is to help my students succeed and become the greatest they can be. My abilities include water, earth, and medical jutsu, along with senbon training and some sealing, as well as summoning slugs. Now you go, wallflower, she said kindly. It wasn't a taunt, she had done research on her future students and this was her nickname in the academy. My name is Danielle Tengoku, I'm 12 years old, a genin student, and my likes include books, French fries, training, my friends Naruto and Hinata, and tales of the gutsy ninja. My dislikes include taijutsu, poisons, and people who judge others before getting to know them, thongs, and peeping toms. My fighting skills would retain to cooking, sewing, medical ninjutsu, elemental ninjutsu, seals, archery, kenjutsu, stealth, cleaning, aerial jutsu, tracking, a little in sensing. My goal is to be a really good medical ninja like Tsunade-sama and a seal master like Yondaime-sama. She finished, but I have something to show all of you. She held her fingers in a ram position, Kai. The air around her back warped a little, revealing angel wings with a pink hue to it. I've had Kurenai Yuhi hide them for me, it's an ace to surprise my opponents. But still this has a drawback, my bones are hollow so I'm light enough to fly. Your bones would break after a physical battle, Arashi stated. Danielle just nodded. Alright then, why don't you go, Arashi? Shizune suggested. Alright. Hello, my name is Arashi Nawaki Senju Cami. I'm 12 years old, a genin of the village hidden by leaves, and my likes include rice balls, everyone, and everything unless I have a reason not to like them. My goal is to become the strongest ninja I can be in any and all branches from Fuin, Tai, Gen, Nin, Bo, Med, and Kenjutsu. I wish to learn every and all aspects. A secondary goal is to restart the Cami and Senju clan. Hopefully I can join the two houses and form a new clan. My skills involve ninjutsu, taijutsu, a very little genjutsu, and great medical jutsu. And I have no idea what else to add. It's alright, Tsuyomi, you're next. Shizune said. She knew exactly why he was afraid. Alright then, my name is Tsuyomi Tora. I am 12 years old, a genin of this village. I like sweet things, tea, training, tigers, meeting nice people, studying ninja scrolls, stars, and doing things right. I don't like failing to do something the first time, bullies, traitors, bitter, dry foods, and someone talking to me when I don't want to talk. My goal is to be great like my older brother Minoru. My skills would have to be summoning tigers, lightning jutsu, stealth, and using these. She took out a set of metal claws that fitted her hands perfectly. Well, you're all great in different ways. Now let's see if you can fit those aspects together. We'll meet at training ground 5 in 5 minutes, don't be late. She vanished. Huh? Danielle looked confused. We gotta run, training ground 5 is on the other side of the village. Arashi said, a little panicked. Just follow me, he said, running. Wait, you don't have your clothes yet. Tsuyomi tried to warn him but it was no use, he was already outside the hospital. You could hear people's confusion. Doesn't matter, we have to go, Danielle said, running. Tsuyomi sighed as Tsunade and Jiraiya entered with a bag of clothes. Have you seen him? I'll take it to him, Tsuyomi said as she ran past them taking the bag. She saw a rope hanging off a kunai, ninja must have left it there. She grabbed it and swung off the side of the building and held onto it as she ran on the side of the building. She swung off it again, landing on a roof across the street from Danielle. Danielle was gliding over the roofs with her wings. Tsuyomi bit her thumb, summoning jutsu. She put her hand to the ground and a tiger big enough to ride was summoned under her in mid-run. She landed on it and the tiger stopped. She scratched him behind the ear and told the tiger what the situation was. He nodded and ran across the roofs. Danielle saw Tsuyomi riding a tiger. That's cheating, she said as she landed and jumped high into the air with the help of her wings. She dived at an angle, building speed and momentum. She flew right past Arashi and her tailwind blew him off the roof. Whoa. Thud. Sayomi's tiger caught him and he was right behind Sayomi on the tiger. Thanks for the save, he said. You're welcome, now here are your clothes. She handed him the bag. Thank you. He started to look through the bags. It took them 4.5 minutes to get there. Shizune was standing there with a stopwatch. Good job. You passed the first part of my test, she said happily. Easy now, if you excuse me, I gotta get dressed. Arashi said, running into the woods. He came back 2 seconds later fully dressed. I'm back. How did you change that fast? Danielle asked, completely confused. Huh? Arashi looked confused. It's better not to ask, it been like that for a long time, Shizune said to Danielle. Every time Arashi changed it was really fast, and he never knew he did it. Well, this test is it's to put these on me. She took out 2 tags and handed one to Arashi and one to Sayomi. These are chakra suppressant tags, put them on me and I will be unable to use chakra and you 3 would have won. But I won't let you guys pass easily, I can take you down, I will. So this is a skill test? Sayomi asked. We'll pass easy. Danielle looked confident, Arashi looked thoughtful. There's more, only 2 of you will pass. All 3 of their eyes widened. Once I have my 2 genin I will train you as my apprentices while the 3rd will be sent back to the academy to try again. So you must pass before sunset. The 2 who gets the tag on me will get to be my apprentices. Good luck. Sayomi and Danielle jumped off into hiding, but Arashi stayed there contemplating her words. I find no double meaning to this, whatever. He charged Shizune. Sorry, Ne-chan. Same, Shizune whispered into his ear. His eyes widened as she put a senbon in his back, hitting a nerve that froze up his legs. He fell on his face. The tag fell in front of him. You know a ninja always comes prepared, she said, kneeling down in front of him. Exactly, Danielle shouted, coming in from the left. Shizune was about to punch her but she faded away. A normal clone. Danielle came down from the sky. Shizune leapt to the side as a rain arrows came down, missing Arashi and the tag just barely. Danielle landed and took the tag and flew into the forest. Shizune smirked as she ran after Danielle. Sayomi walked into the clearing with her tiger at her side. She took the needle out and Arashi got up. Thanks. No problem, but still this isn't right. I've never heard of a 3-man team, she said. But we're not a team, we'll be her apprentices. Let me see your tag, Arashi asked, opening his hand. Sayomi hesitated for a moment but handed it to him. He held it up to the sun and inspected the ink carvings carefully. This is a chakra seal tag, but still it's not the right kind. Huh? Sayomi looked at the tag. It was shaped like a vortex to drain away chakra. This way a normal tag should be is a whirlpool. The tag originated at Hidden Whirlpool, but this is a tornado. I can't help but feel this is important, Arashi said, looking at the tag. Sayomi put it in her pocket. Let's take a look at the other tag. Maybe there is a clue there. Arashi nodded. He and Sayomi ran after Danielle and Shizune. Hey Arashi, are we working together? Sayomi asked, riding her tiger. I don't know, depends if you betray me, he said, not looking at her as he leapt from branch to branch. Sayomi just stayed silent. There they are. Danielle was shooting at Shizune with her bow and arrow while Shizune was dodging, sidestepping, and destroying Danielle's arrows with ease. Danielle, stop, hold your fire, Arashi called as he slid under Shizune, kicked her up as Sayomi jumped up at a direction that would cause her to land on Shizune with the tag ready. Shizune used a substitution with Danielle and Danielle was hit into Arashi. They heard something snap and Danielle cried out in pain. It's up to you, Arashi, if you want to heal someone who could potentially betray you. Shizune's voice echoed through the woods. Arashi got up holding Danielle, who was very light. Immediately he set her down and held a bird hand sign. Soon his hands were glowing green with chakra and he held his hand over Danielle's forehead. She was whimpering. The pain must have been bad. You have a broken leg, he said, finding where the pain was through her mind. He moved his hand there and soon the pain in her eyes faded. In my left hand is a painkiller jutsu and in my right is the mystic palm. With me using one hand to heal, it'll take double the time. Why are you helping me? Danielle asked. Because even if we are competing for positions and you could betray me, you're my friend. I would never leave a friend who needs help, Arashi said with a serious look in his eyes. In danger you never waste time. A second is all it takes to die, so never waste a second. Let us see your tag, Sayomi said. Danielle handed it to her. Arashi, it is different. Let me see it. Sayomi held it in front of his face. It was a raging ocean with rain, powerful winds, and lightning. Maybe it's something to do with a storm? Tsuyomi suggested. What are your guys' elemental chakra types? Arashi asked. Lightning, Tsuyomi said. Water, Danielle said. I don't have one, but I do know a few wing jutsu. All three of those elements create the legendary storm type, Arashi informed them. Are we supposed to make a storm jutsu? Tsuyomi asked. But it's a bloodline, Danielle interjected. I think what it's trying to say, that we all need to work together. A storm is three different elements working together. While I'm healing Danielle, we need to work on a plan, Arashi said with a confidant smile. Tsuyomi and Danielle mirrored his smile as they began to lean in close discussing a plan. Shizune was meditating on a post while she waited for the slightest noise. She heard chakra activation and jumped as a kunai whizzed under her feet. Now, she heard Danielle shout. Two Arashi ran out of the woods, one with the Anbu sword and one with Tsuyomi's claws. Too easy, she kicked the Arashi with the claws who poofed into Tsuyomi holding Arashi's sword. Huh? Eat this. A third Arashi came out of the ground, she kicked him and he disappeared completely. Tsuyomi had disappeared as well. The Arashi holding the katana poofed, revealing Danielle without her wings and Tsuyomi's claws. What's going on? Shizune wondered as she took out a kunai and got ready to block the claws, and the claws went right through her kunai, a normal clone. She felt two kunai flying at her and sidestepped them, going right through the middle, but it was too late. They sprung, swinging around, tying her arms to her side. You gotta do better than that. A tiger with Danielle's wings flew out of the woods. Shizune looked very confused now. You let you guard down. Danielle shouted. She was close. Shizune turned around and threw a hard punch. It was Arashi? He caught the punch and pulled her closer to him and flipped her over his shoulder. She landed on her feet, rolled out of Arashi's grip. Dang. He had Danielle's voice. Now, she heard Arashi's voice. It was Tsuyomi? Danielle came down with her wands and Arashi's sword ready to impale Shizune. She rolled out of the way. This ends now. Shizune shouted, doing hand seals. Water wave jutsu. She blew a huge torrent of water, blowing all three of them away. They all got up immediately. Arashi was wearing Tsuyomi's clothes and had Danielle's wings. Tsuyomi was wearing Danielle's clothes and held Arashi's two swords. And Danielle wore Arashi's clothes while holding Tsuyomi's claws. What the hell is going on? She shouted. You focusing too hard on what we look and sound like, sensei, Tsuyomi said in Arashi's voice. Shizune felt a hard thud in the back of her head as everything faded. She realized she was just in a genjutsu. She was tied to the post she was meditating on moments earlier. She had a tag on her cheek and forehead. She couldn't feel her chakra anymore. Her perfectly normal students, Arashi, Tsuyomi, and Danielle, were in front of her. The thud was Arashi hitting her across the back of the head with his sheathed sword. Shizune laughed. Alright, what kind of jutsu was that? She asked. A Tora family genjutsu titled Confusing Patterns. It's normally used for animal confusion, but it worked perfectly fine for us. Tsuyomi said happily. So it was your idea to use genjutsu? Shizune asked. No, it was mine, Danielle stated as Arashi and Tsuyomi nodded. So it was your idea to work together? Shizune asked. Me, Arashi said as Danielle and Tsuyomi nodded. Well then, who put the tags on me? She asked. We did, Tsuyomi stated. I mean, which two of you? Yes, the three of them said at the same time. Shizune was confused again. She looked around. Everything was perfectly normal, as if there was never a battle to start with. Well, I don't know which two of you specifically put the tags on me, and I can't choose two, or else that would be favoritism. So I guess I got no choice but to take in all three of you, Shizune sighed. Alright, Danielle cheered as she pulled Arashi and Tsuyomi in for a hug. We will be known as Team 5, now. Could you please untie me and get these tags off me? She asked nervously. Sure. Tsuyomi and Danielle ripped the tags off, and like band-aids, Shizune yelped at the pain. Arashi cut the wires with his sword. How about we all go out for dinner? Shizune suggested, rubbing her red cheek and red forehead. Yeah, Tsuyomi said loudly. It was a little out of character for her, but who cared, it was a happy time. Arashi was just smiling as he picked up the two tags on the floor and slipped them into his pocket. He would keep them as memories. Yeah, Tsuyomi said loudly. It was a little out of character for her, but who cared, it was a happy time. Arashi was just smiling as he picked up the two tags on the floor and slipped them into his pocket. He would keep them as memories. The genin have been busy since that day. The Jonin senseis had been working their students hard into the ground as an order from the Hokage. Training was intense for the first month, and not only that, they had to do D missions in record times. Nobody knew why the Hokage was working the newest batch of genin so hard. But nobody could argue with the results. Each genin had gotten significantly stronger. Arashi took sword fighting lessons with Kushina and jutsu with Jiraiya and Minato, as well as medical jutsu with Naruto. Naruto was learning jutsu with his mother, and he was learning a new jutsu from Jiraiya and Minato. Each student could maintain a serious fight with their chunin superiors for the first 10 minutes, and then the chunin always found a way to beat the genin. The answer was simple: they lacked experience. And this was what brought them here today. Team 7 was on a mission. This is Ramen Topping reporting in. Naruto's voice sounded in from the radio headsets they were using. The targets are 30 meters north of my position. Check that. This is Pink Tree checking in. I'm in position. Do you copy? White Lightning? I copy. Duck Hunter, do you copy? I copy. Why did Naruto have to make the names? Silence. Duck Hunter, I choose the names. It was Ramen Topping who suggested it. Are you three ready? Kakashi said, stifling a laugh. Yes, we're on standby, waiting on the signal to advance. Pink Tree out. Roger that. Kakashi waited a few moments. Go. 3 shadows leapt out of their position on their unsuspecting targets. Clang. You're gonna have to do better than that. Team 7 said their targets. It was Team 5. Danielle had her bow drawn and ready to fire at Sakura. Sora had her claws at Naruto's neck, and Arashi had a clone block Sasuke's kunai with his sword poised to stab him in the back with another sword. How? Naruto asked with as much breath as he was allowed to draw. Choose a less obvious radio frequency than 7, Danielle said as Sora held up a small portable radio in one hand. Kakashi walked out with his hands up and without his jacket. As he walked out, Shizune was following him with kunai ready to put in his neck. She also had his jacket over her shoulder. We've been compromised. Yes you have, Shizune said, pushing him forward. Good job Team 5. Team 5 let Team 7 go. Better luck next time, Duck Hunter. Arashi laughed. Sasuke scowled as others joined into the laugh. Well, what are your guys' names? Naruto asked. Timekeeper, Tiger Tamer, Fragile Angel, and Medical Mistress. Shizune said with a smile. Sensei. Arashi shouted as other laughed. Hey, how come you guys have better names than us? Sakura asked. Because I'm more creative than Ramen Topping, Danielle said, crossing her arms. Well, what do your names mean? I mean, ours are pretty obvious, Sasuke asked. Timekeeper is because holds a sword named Eon. An eon is an unspecific large amount of time past millenniums. An eon can stretch from a millennium and 1 year to 1,000,000,000,000 years. Tiger Tamer is because I can summon tamed or wild tigers, and Fragile Angel is because Danielle and Shizune covered Sayumi's mouth. We've already gave away enough information, Arashi said nervously. Without warning, a chunin appeared in a swirl of leaves and smoke. Team 5 and 7, you are to report to Hokage-sama effective immediately, and he vanished just like that. Okay? Kakashi said as he put a hand on Sasuke and Naruto's shoulder, and they put a hand on Sakura's shoulder and disappeared in a swirl of leaves and smoke. We're running, come on. Shizune said as she took off with her team following close behind. It took then 7 minutes to gather their standard Genin to Chunin student time. When they arrived, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were talking while Kakashi sat on a couch reading. Alright, we're here, you good team? Arashi, Danielle, and Sayumi panted a little but gave her a thumbs up. Good, now this is the news. We know the reason why you're not holding up with Chunin ninjas. They all looked up. You lack experience. So we'll start slow and steady by sending 2 Genin teams on AC rank mission. Mr. Tazuna, you may enter. He Genin could have sworn they heard slow drunk music playing as a drunken middle-aged man walked in. He leaned against the door frame and studied the 2 teams. He wore a travel's hat with a dirty tank top and pants. All topped with flushed cheeks and a beer belly. This is my protection, 6 midgets, a scarecrow and a schoolgirl? Pathetic, he said, taking a drink of the gourd of sake he held in his hands. The Genin of Team 5 tried to look calm, but Team 7 made their displeasure evident. Whatever, beggars can't be choosers. Meet me by the gate in half an hour. He stumbled out the door. An escort mission? Shizune guessed. Yeah, that is Tazuna. He needs protection from thieves and bandits on his way back to the land of waves. That's where you come in, just escort him, and come home. Minato said as he went back to his paperwork. Alright team, we have 27 minutes to pack any gear you may need, don't be late to the gate. Shizune said and Team 5 was out the window. What she said, Kakashi said as he disappeared reading his book. Arashi was in his room packing everything into a backpack when he heard a knock on his door, going somewhere. It was his dad, Jiraiya Senju. Yup, on my first C-rank mission, he said. An escort mission, but still one can't be too prepared. He said, hefting the heavy backpack up on his shoulders. God son, wait, let me see what you got. He took the backpack and emptied it on the bed. Out rolled 20 kunai, 10 explosive tags, 30 shuriken, 5 collapsible Fuma shurikens, 2 scrolls, a lot of food, and a lot of anti-snake venom. Here, I'll make his lighter. He took one of the scrolls and quickly wrote a series of sealing circles, and one by one each item was in a scroll. There you go. He handed it to Arashi. Thanks dad. He hugged his dad. I'm gonna say bye to mom, then I'm outta here, he said, running out of the room with the scroll. Be safe, Jiraiya said quietly. Bye. Arashi shouted and ran out the Senju compound gates. It took him 17 minutes to get there while walking, which was fine, he was 2 minutes early. Everyone was there minus Tazuna. Naruto held up an orange scroll for Arashi to see. Arashi held up his white scroll as well. Did your mom do yours? Dad, Naruto said. Same, Arashi shrugged. What are you two talking about? Sakura asked, and where are your packs? Right here, our dads are seal masters, they packed everything into these scrolls. Naruto said happily. Right, our escort is here, Danielle mentioned, pointing to Tazuna, who was happily sober and walking toward them. He walked up to them. Listen, I paid for you all to protect me. That means with your lives, I need to live, understand? He asked. They all nodded with a serious expression. Right then, let's go. He started to walk with spring in his step. The formation was Shizune in the very front, Kakashi in the very back, Arashi and Sasuke in the front just behind Shizune, Naruto and Danielle on either side of Tazuna, and Sasuke and Tsuyomi behind him and just in front of Kakashi. So what did you read in the Forbidden Scroll? I'm sure it wasn't just meteor shower, Arashi said, looking at Sasuke. I don't trust you enough, he said, looking away. Respect and trust must be earned, like money and the bare essentials in life. Tazuna said, bringing up his opinion. True, but it never hurts to help someone who's down back onto their feet. Arashi countered. Tazuna smiled. I like that. What's your name, kid? He asked. Arashi Nawaki Senju Cami, son of legendary Sannin Jiraiya and Tsunade Senju. And the blonde boy is my god brother Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, the Hokage's son. Tazuna's eyes widened as he looked from Arashi to Naruto. Wow, I hope you're at least a little bit like each of your parents, both of you. He said. Arashi then nodded. Great, that makes me feel better, he nodded. We also have the last surviving Uchiha right here, Arashi said, pointing at Sasuke, who kept looking ahead with a smirk. He survived the massacre and is a prodigy. Then you have Shizune Senju. Adopted into the Senju compound, she has been trained by both my parents and is a very strong for her age. And finally we have Kakashi Hitaki. Trained by the 4th Hokage and creator of the infamous Chidori/Reikuri Jutsu. Tazuna looked all around him. Oh my god, what about the others? He asked. Tsuyomi Tora in the last 3 of the tiger summoning clan. Not only can she summon tigers, she is very dangerous with those claws of hers. Then there is Sakura Haruno, smartest kunoichi of our year. She is also practicing genjutsu and makes leaps and bounds in her training. Then there is Danielle Tengoku. Her family came from another land, hence her different first name, and she is the last of her clan. I won't give away what her clan does, it is too important, but still she is a master at bow and arrow combat and water jutsu. Arashi finished his evaluation on teams 5 and 7. Whoa, Tazuna was lost for words. Arashi smiled, as did everyone else. They overheard him talking and was glad he had nothing but positive words about them. Arashi spotted a puddle and glanced back at Naruto, who nodded. Tsuyomi, Shizune, and Kakashi also looked back at him. Shizune nodded to them and started to whistle. Kakashi buried his nose in his book. As they walked past the puddle, it exploded in a torrent of water as 2 men with claws and a spiked chain both wrapped the chain around Shizune and Kakashi at the same time. 2 down, they ripped Kakashi and Shizune to shreds. Immediately Sasuke and Arashi rushed the one in front of where Shizune was. Tsuyomi and Naruto ran back to deal with the other. Sasuke slid under one of the men and kicked him in the chin, sending him up. Arashi landed on top of him and pushed him into a tree, where he impaled the chain to the tree with his Anbu sword. Naruto and Tsuyomi had worked together as well. Tsuyomi jumped up, grappled him by the shoulders and took him down to the floor, where she then jumped off as an army of Naruto all held him down with various holds and tricks. The demon brothers Gozu and Maizu, Sakura said. They work together and rely on co-op jutsu, but watch out because they can break out of that chain. Too late, Gozu said as he took the chain off. Maizu used the chain to kill all the clones, then he took it off. Danielle drew her bow back and shot a volley of arrows at Maizu, pinning him to the tree. Gozu was an inch from Tazuna and Sakura when Clang Arashi had substituted with Sakura and was using his wrist to block Gozu's claws. "Hey stupid boy, our claws are poisoned," he laughed. Arashi chuckled, "Stupid demon brother, I know." He brought his wrist apart, shredding his sleeves and moving the demon brother's claws out of the way. "Blasphemy!" he shouted as he brought his foot up and kicked him back hard. The wind was literally taken out of him as he blanked out from lack of oxygen. "Arashi, are you okay?" Kakashi asked, walking out from behind a tree. Shizune jumped out of a tree. Tazuna's speechless fear was taken out as he looked at the remains of Shizune and Kakashi. In its place was a bunch of cut-up logs. "I'm fine," Arashi said, holding up his arms. His sleeves fell back, showing metal gauntlets. The right one held all the Cami clan member names, and the left held all the Senju clan names. "My family protects me," he said. "But your Haori is ruined," Shizune said. "I'll just sew it back up for you, it's the least I could do," Sakura volunteered. Arashi nodded and took his Haori off and handed it to her. He was only in his white tank top now. "Okay, now start talking," Sasuke said, walking up to Maizu. "I will never talk," he said. "Oh really?" Naruto asked as he made a bunch of clones. "Danielle?" Shizune asked. Danielle smirked and pulled out 5 feathers from her back pocket and handed one each to the clones. "This'll be entertaining," Danielle commented. Arashi just waited with Tazuna and Sakura as they tortured Maizu with tickling. "Ahahahahahaha. Stop," he shouted. "No, not the ribs. Ahahahahaha." He laughed. "Tell us why you attacked us," Naruto said. "Oh okay, I'll talk," he shouted as the Naruto clones got off. Maizu panted more as he hung his head. "We were hired to kill the old man." Kakashi hit him in the back at the head. "That's all I needed," Kakashi said, snapping the book shut. "Alright, talk Tazuna. Why are other ninjas after you? There better be a good reason or we will be forced to abandon the mission. It's dangerous to our genin," he said sternly. Tazuna sighed. He began to explain. "Have you ever heard of Gato? Like Gato's shipping company?" Sakura asked, still working on Arashi's Haori sleeves. "The very same. On the outside he may seem like an honest businessman, but he is far from it. He has taken control of all the shipping ports," he said. "He virtually owns the place," Tsuyomi stated. "Yes, the Land of Waves are now a slum-poor land with little to no hope. People are dying every day. The only hope is a bridge I'm building. It'll link the Land of Waves to the mainland and stop Gato's monopoly of the Land of Waves. Please, everyone pulled their money together to hire protection for me so I could finish the bridge. Please don't abandon me. The whole people of the Land of Waves' lives depend on me," he said near tears. "Kakashi?" Shizune asked, looking at him. "We should tell the Hokage this and work something out, but that'll be a pain." "We can do it," he said. "Tazuna, we will continue the mission." Tazuna wiped away his tears and nodded. "Thank you." He took individual bows to each one of them. "All done," Sakura said, handing the Haori back to Arashi. "Thank you," he said, slipping it back on and adjusting it accordingly. "She did a great job," Arashi thought, looking at the sleeves. "You would have to focus to see the damage. Shall we go?" Kakashi nodded. "Same formation," he said as they continued their walk. "I have a bad feeling about this, but why is there a small good feeling under it?" Arashi thought, looking up at the sky. "I have a bad feeling about this, but why is there a small good feeling under it?" Arashi thought, looking up at the sky. Relatively nothing had happened through the rest of the walk. The demon brothers were tied to a tree and probably escaped by now. That is if Danielle's little trick worked. Just before they left, she dropped a kunai directly in front of them. "Oops, I dropped a kunai," she said, looking at them and running off. "Should we pick it up?" Gozu asked Misu. "No, it's obviously a trap," he said, not knowing it wasn't. And they would sit there for 2 days after that. They were in a boat all the genin while Shizune and Kakashi were forced to walk on water due to not enough room on the boat. So do you have family in waved to Zuna-san? Tsuyomi asked. Yes, my daughter Tsunami and her son Inari. They're all I think about, he said. My daughter is always looking at the positive side and my grandson, just the opposite. He sighed. How is morale in the village? Arashi asked looking ahead as he sat in front of the boat not looking at anyone. What is this feeling? Not good, Tazuna sighed. Suddenly Arashi jumped out of the boat. Arashi. Shush. We need to be silent, the boar rower hissed. What's wrong with him? Sakura asked. Naruto looked a bit freaked out. He gets like this sometimes, I don't know where he's going. He said Arashi was swimming ahead of them toward the island. He is hard to deal with at these times. He never listens, he's like a ghost, I gotta follow him. No, I'll go. Danielle, Tsuyomi, you come with me. Shizune said. Tsuyomi jumped onto Shizune's back and she then took off and Danielle dove and her wings revealed themselves as she flew. Everyone who didn't know was looking at her. Arashi was swimming without thinking, he was focused on something else. Why'd I have this horrible premonition? It feels bad, very bad, no, evil. I must find it, and destroy it. He started to kick and paddle faster. Arashi, what are you doing? Danielle asked as he picked him out of the water. Let me go, he said. I know what I'm doing. Danielle waited a while and dropped him closer to shore. He started to swim again. Why did you let him go? Shizune asked. I trust him, simple. Let's go help him, Danielle said. Shizune nodded and the three of them followed Arashi. I can feel it, it's close, very close. It feels so familiar like Dad, except he doesn't have this vile aura to him. This does, what is it? I must destroy it. Arashi could feel Eon shaking in its sheath. Kid, stop, this isn't safe. You're too weak, but I must destroy it. Arashi thought. Stop. Arashi didn't, he got out of the water and he took off running, destroy. I must destroy this evil. He could barely think, he tried to pull back to rational thinking, but it wouldn't work. Eon, help me. Destroy it. Don't give in to astonishment. Eon called in his mind. Arashi froze in place. He could think again, don't give in to the feelings, please don't be like my last holder. Eon actually sounded sad. Arashi fell to his knees. Arashi, what's wrong? Tsuyomi asked, running to him and putting a hand on his shoulder. I don't know what came over me, I just felt this force pulling me toward somewhere. But I managed to break free. Thanks to you, Eon, he added in his head. You weakling, you couldn't even break free of your own instincts. I better not see this again. Or you will never wield me, got it? Eon sounded plenty pissed now. I got it, Arashi said out loud. Huh? Danielle looked confused. Forget it, we'll wait here for Team 7 and Tazuna, Shizune said looking worried. Whoa, check this place out. Danielle said astonished, the scenery was fantastic. It was sunny despite them being in the fog moments ago. Yeah, Tsuyomi said silently looking around. Arashi was just sitting on the floor silent. His hair was wet and matted to his head. His bangs, which usually covered his headband, were also matted down to his forehead protector. After a few minutes the boat came in. Kakashi was looking at Arashi and then back to Shizune, who shook her head. No. He looked at his students, who nodded. Well then, shall we continue? Kakashi asked. After that the walk was silent. Naruto kept an eye on Arashi, who was still silent. After a while they were walking through the woods. When they could barely see a lake, Danielle drew an arrow and Sakura threw a kunai into the bushes. Danielle kept the arrow drawn aiming at where Sakura threw her kunai. Sasuke, check it out, Kakashi commanded. Sasuke nodded and walked to the bush. He sighed and pulled a white rabbit up by its ears. Sakura looked mortified. Oh my god, I'm sorry. She cried as she took the bunny and began to cuddle it while it shook uncontrollably. Shizune, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Tsuyomi's eyes widened. Get down. Sasuke pulled Sakura down, Tsuyomi pulled Danielle down, Shizune pulled Tazuna down, and Kakashi pulled Naruto down. Arashi was just standing there. Arashi. Too late, a sword flew through the air and sliced through him. All their eyes widened. Sakura's mouth opened as she tried to scream, yet no sound came out. His body poofed into a log cut in half. They heard panting. Arashi was on his knees a few feet away. He was holding his throat. That was too close, he said. His neck was bleeding, it had just barely cut him. He got up. The sword had embedded itself into a tree and a man was standing on it with his back to them. He had cow camo arm warmers, dull blue pants, no shirt, bandages covering the bottom half of his face, and wore a kiri forehead protector sideways on his head. He just stood there. Should we tell him he's facing the wrong way? Danielle asked. Nah, give him a few minutes, he'll figure it out, Naruto said. With a smile and hands in his pocket, everything went silent for a while. Hey Naruto, I've been meaning to ask, those marks on your face. Are they whiskers or, what are they? Sasuke asked. Naruto took a few seconds, you know. I have no idea myself. Zabuza turned around. Oh, looks like he's ready, hi. Naruto said waving. Protect Tazuna, Kakashi commanded. Immediately all the genin for a protective 6-point barrier, hence, point. They all had a sharp object in their hands. Shit just got real, Arashi noted. He had healed his neck before he lost too much blood, but still the inside of his collar was stained red. Hello, I'm Zabuza Momochi, now I only want the old man. Let me kill him and I'll let you all live, he said with all seriousness. Zabuza Momochi. Rank A, missing ninja of the village hidden in the mist. One of the Mist's 7 ninja swordsmen, missing for treason in an attempted assassination on the Mizukage. Notable features are, gray skin, giant cleaver-like sword, cow arm warmers, sideways headband, and bandage mask. Sakura finished her report. You're well-informed kid, Zabuza praised. I pride her on that, now we can't let you have him. This whole land relies on his survival, so killing him is killing this whole land's inhabitant. Kakashi said. Shizune and him both drew a kunai. Zabuza laughed out loud. I think it cute, he disappeared. That you all think I care, he said behind Tazuna right in front of Danielle, she squeaked in surprise. Danielle. Tsuyomi slashed at Zabuza but he just sidestepped her slash, kneed her in the gut and took a wide swing with his sword. Clang, clang, clang. Clang, clang. Kakashi, Shizune, Sasuke, Naruto, and Arashi all blocked the huge blade with their own various blades. You left an opening in your defense, Zabuza said as he burst into water. The real Zabuza appeared jumping out of the tree he was in mid-swing. All their eyes widened. Tazuna closed his eyes. Clang, slice. Kakashi had taken Arashi's Anbu sword out of Arashi's sheath and blocked the sword while Shizune substituted with Tazuna. The blade was cracked in 3 different places, but he was doing his best to block the blade, but the blade was an inch deep in her shoulder. Nade-chan. Arashi tried to draw Eon, but he took the whole thing. This won't stop me. Whack. He smashed the sheathed sword into Zabuza's face, sending him flying back without his sword. The blade started to fall, cutting into Shizune's shoulder more. She cried out in pain. Arashi caught the blade by the handle. Kakashi-sensei, let's get this thing out of her. He nodded and they both lifted the sword out of her. Arashi grabbed the huge sword, swung it around and threw it toward the lake. Zabuza appeared on top of the lake and caught the sword. Don't ever touch my sister again, you eyebrowless freak. Arashi screamed. He chuckled. Arashi, start healing Shizune. Naruto, make more clones to build a better defense. I'll handle Zabuza. After Shizune, if alright, I want you all to run. Arashi nodded and unzipped Shizune's jacket and took it off. He ripped the cut part of her shirt just a little bit bigger. He opened his scroll. Thankfully seal ink didn't move when wet. He unsealed a medic pack and took out the antibiotic spray. Alright, this is gonna sting. He sprayed it on her wound, her eyes squeezed shut. He made sure some got inside. Who knew how dirty that giant sword was? Alright then, let's hope my mylotic palm is working. He put on HE hand over the other and his hands started to glow green with tinges of white in it. It was made to rebuild damaged bones. Her shoulder blade must be in bad condition. Kakashi grabbed Arashi's Anbu sheath and put it in. The blade's probably broken. I'm sorry Arashi, he said. Don't apologize. The alternative to having that blade in good condition would be the death of my sister. Thank you for saving her life, Arashi said, still working. Kakashi nodded and charged into the lake, walking on the water where he used 2 kunai to battle it out with Zabuza. You just disrespected me, Eon said in his head in an astonished tone. Get your head out of your ass. I'll run you through mud and shit before I let my sister die. Arashi shouted in his head. Maybe he imagined it, but she stepped back in shock. Nade-chan, are you alright? She nodded. He switched to Mystic Palm and Numbing Palm, the same combination he used on Danielle to relieve pain and heal at half the pace. Shizune had one eye closed. Thank you, Arashi. Don't waste your chakra, just seal the wound with bandages, I'll heal over time, she said. No way, Naruto, give me a hand here. Arashi commanded. Naruto nodded and did the hand seals need for Mystic Palm, and his hands turned glowing green. He put his hands over Arashi, and soon after a few minutes the wound was completely sealed. Shizune tried to get up but she wobbled and fell. Arashi and Naruto caught her. Relax, Nei-chan, you've lost too much blood, Kakashi-sensei can handle it. Arashi said. She nodded and sat down. Arashi panted. Naruto seemed a bit winded. Great job. Naruto said, giving Arashi a thumbs up. He returned it. Do you guys want to help? Danielle asked, launching another arrow at a Zabuza water clone. Kakashi had just fell in the water and got himself captured in a water prison jutsu. And now Zabuza clones were trying to get them, but thanks to Danielle's great accuracy they never got out of the lake. Alright. Arashi cracked his neck. Tsuyomi, Sasuke, you come with me and Naruto. Sakura. Danielle moved to Zuna and Shizune further away from the lake, not too far in case Zabuza has any friends. Just a few meters. Tsuyomi, stay right here in case you will have to help on either side, you can do so. Naruto, Sasuke, you're with me. We're gonna take out those clones and free Sensei. Arashi commanded. Move. Everyone did as told. Naruto made more clones, left some with Danielle and Sakura, some with Tsuyomi, and the rest went with him, Sasuke, and Arashi into the battle with the clones. Thank God the clones are weaker than the original, Arashi said in his mind as he stabbed one with a kunai. He wanted to save his sword in case it was broken or repairable. Keep fighting, my friends, we're almost to the lake, he said. Sasuke stabbed two at once. A Naruto mob killed 3 Zabuza clones. Arashi didn't like getting in close. He missed his swords already. What are you doing? I told you to run. Kakashi shouted. This is an A-rank Jonin. He's Zabuza of the Bloody Mist. Zabuza laughed. Yes, I am Kakashi. All the clones turned back into water. Tell them why. Kakashi blinked and started talking. The Mist's graduation test is much different than our own. The test is to kill your best friend in a no-bars fight. Their eyes widened. If we did the same, Naruto, Arashi, you two would have to fight and kill each other. Arashi and Naruto looked at each other. Zabuza started to laugh. Yes, but one day. A kid walked to the school all by himself. Nobody knew this kid. He was just there out of the blue during the graduation test. Arashi looked a bit nervous. That child single-handedly killed every other student there, Naruto gasped. That kid was me. I literally spawned from hell itself. I murdered every kid there and Sasuke looked mortified. It felt so good. They all stepped back away from Zabuza. That's why I told you to run. Now get out of here. Kakashi shouted. Arashi, Naruto, and Sasuke were all shaking. Fight it, come on, don't give in to the astonishment of fear. Arashi thought to himself. He relaxed and glared at Zabuza. More reason to fight. To kill an abomination like you. Arashi unsealed his collapsible Fuma Shuriken 6 in total. Sasuke, Naruto, let's get this done. Formation Halo. They shakily nodded and formed a triangle. Arashi drew his Anbu sword and tested it with his thumb. It was about ready to snap. I'm so sorry, you were the greatest sword I could ever ask for, he said to the sword. Naruto created 10 clones. They all formed a group. Sasuke and Naruto both grabbed one clone by the ankles and pulled. They pulled at each other, forming a rope. The last one grabbed Arashi. Sasuke and Naruto swung the rope of clones around till they snapped the rope, making Arashi head straight for Zabuza. Is that all you got? He shouted. He held his sword up to block. This is all I need, Arashi shouted back. Their swords clashed with great force. The top half of Arashi's sword broke off completely, spinning straight for Zabuza's face. His eyes widened. He let go of the prison and substituted away. Naruto and Sasuke snapped the rope again, bringing Arashi back to them. He landed and fell to his knees. He looked at his broken blade. The blade that was once a 3-foot blade was now a mere 2 feet long with more cracks on it. I'm so sorry, he thought. Zabuza glared. I'll get you for that. He preformed a set of hand seals, water cycle, water dragon projectile. He made a huge water dragon with yellow eyes rush at them. Water style. Water dragon projectile. A second one came in and bit the other one in the neck, making them both explode into torrents of water. Kakashi had his headband on straight, revealing a red eye with 3 spinning komas in them. I'm your opponent. Naruto, Sasuke, and Arashi. That was stupid, rash and dangerous. I expected better from you. They just stared at him. But you saved my life. I will repay that debt now by defeating him. Don't worry, I won't lose. He said, looking back at them. Get back to Tsuyomi and stay there. They nodded and ran back. Haha, I must admit that move was great, for a bunch of genin. Zabuza praised. Yes, it was. Now Sharingan Kakashi. Let's end this. Zabuza put his sword on his back and ran around. Kakashi mirrored the circle. Zabuza changed directions as did Kakashi. So you can mirror my moves, well keep up with this. He began to perform hand seals. Tiger ox, monkey rabbit. Zabuza started and Kakashi mirrored his movement. Tiger ox, monkey rabbit. Kakashi was keeping up. Zabuza was concentrating on Kakashi's hand movement that he didn't notice Kakashi's eye spin and a transparent image of himself appeared behind Kakashi fighting against him. Zabuza's eyes widened and he stopped. Ram monkey bird ram horse ox horse. Water style, great water vortex. A ring of water rose up in front of Kakashi and a ton of water from the lake went into the ring and blew forward in a vortex of water. Zabuza's eyes widened as he was swept up into the vortex, taking him underwater. I let my guard down. He shouted. The vortex carried him across the lake and slammed him into a tree trunk. Kakashi didn't give him a chance to recover. He threw kunai at Zabuza, going inside him, pinning him to the tree trunk by his arms. Kakashi shunshined to a branch right next to Zabuza. How? See, can you see the future? Zabuza asked. Yes. Your future is death. Kakashi said, about to cut his throat, when suddenly 2 senbon needles flew into his neck. Zabuza froze up and his eyes rolled back up into his head. Kakashi turned around surprised. There was a young shinobi. I guess you were right, his future was death. Thank you Sharingan Kakashi, I don't think I could have handled him on my own. Forgive me for not assisting you. The young shinobi had the standard Kiri hunter ninja mask. It's not alright, just take the body. Kakashi felt his neck for a pulse, finding none. I'm getting my team and getting out of here. I leave the rest to you. He jumped off the tree into Naruto, Sasuke, Tsuyomi, and Arashi's field of vision. He collapsed. Sensei. Naruto shouted. He and Arashi ran after him. Sasuke ran back to get the others with Tsuyomi. Naruto kneeled down next to him. Don't die sensei. I'm not dead, just so tired. I'm gonna close my eyes for a second. Kakashi closed his eyes, but they didn't open. Arashi checked his pulse. He's fine. Arashi pulled his headband back down. The others were coming. Sasuke and Tsuyomi were supporting Shizune. She didn't look good either. Tazuna looked extremely worried. Hey kid, are they alright? He asked when they finally got there. Arashi nodded. They just need some rest. Shizune sensei lost a lot of blood, and Kakashi sensei has chakra exhaustion. Well then we'll take them back to my house. Let's hurry before more ninjas come. Arashi took Sasuke's place in supporting Shizune. Sasuke and Naruto both picked Kakashi up. We're shinobi, Tazuna-san. Shizune said. Good job little brother, she said looking down at him. Thank you. Arashi looked worried. Not only did I break my sword, I could have just lost my other one, and I still have that bad feeling, like there is something worse out there. They got to Tazuna's house a half hour later. It was on a hill just before a dock. The building itself was 2 stories like an inn. But it sure didn't have any advertising, it was just a normal fisherman's house. Zana opened the door. I'm home. He announced happily. A young woman around Shizune's age walked out of the kitchen. Father, she said, worried as she hugged him. I was so worried, and so was Inari. She said, I'm fine Tsunami thanks to these shinobi here, Tazuna said, making a welcoming gesture to them as they walked in. Halfway through the walk Naruto had made clones to carry Kakashi, but Arashi and Tsuyomi continued to support Shizune on their shoulders. She bowed to them. Thank you all so very much. Is there any way we can repay you? She asked. Well, a place to stay would be nice, just till the bridge is finished. Shizune said. Her face was pale as was Kakashi's face. Naruto nudged Arashi and pointed to the stairs. A kid with a fisherman's hat was there looking at them. Yes, of course, we have extra rooms, one for the boys and one for the girls. Oh, Inari, say hi to you grandfather. The little boy, about 9, ran to his grandfather and hugged his leg. Just go ahead and set your stuff and sensei's there. They'll use the beds and the boys can sleep on the floor. Teams 5 and 7 nodded and helped their senseis to the rooms. Arashi and Tsuyomi lay Shizune down on the bed of the girls' room. Are you alright, Nei-chan? Arashi asked. Yes, and I told you to call me sensei. She said. You can't stop me, he said. Oh yes I can. Tickle jutsu. She grabbed him and pulled him close and started to tickle him. Arashi started to laugh along with Shizune. Tsuyomi smiled and walked out. They kept laughing till Shizune suddenly winced and fell back. Nei-chan. He stopped, got up, looked at her worried. I'm fine, just tired, let me rest. Okay? Arashi nodded and she laid her head back. He put a hand over her shoulder and his hand started to glow green. She had just reopened a wound, he worked on it. Why don't you assist me in town, Sakura and Tsuyomi? He heard downstairs. Sure thing, just let me let sensei know. Tsuyomi said and ran up the stairs. She entered the room. Oh, she's asleep. Well, I'll tell you then, we're splitting up. Me and Sakura will go into town with Tsunami and get things for dinner. Sasuke and Naruto are gonna guard Tazuna. And Danielle and you will stay here and guard Inari and the senseis. Arashi nodded. Okay, bye. She ran back downstairs. After a while of sitting next to Shizune while staring at his broken sword, Danielle walked in and knocked on the door. How is she? She asked, worried. She'll be fine. Just needs a lot of sleep and water. Hey Danielle? I'm gonna go out for a few hours. Can you please watch things here? He asked. Sure Arashi, but why? Danielle asked, taking her bow from her back. I'm gonna find a blacksmith and see if he can repair my sword. Arashi said, getting up. Alright then, go ahead, your best with your weapon. I could never imagine if I lost my bow. Arashi nodded and jumped out the window to a tree and jumped down. He stretched a bit and took off jogging toward the lake. They fended off Zabuza. After 10 minutes he got there and panted a bit. He took off his haori and tank top as well as his pants, hid them in a tree and jumped into the water in his boxers. He swam to the bottom and looked around. Nothing. He was looking for the top half of his blade just in case he could have a quick repair. He swam back up for air, his head broke through the surface. I should have known it wouldn't be this easy. He dove again under the water. In the village with Tsunami and Sakura, Tsuyomi was walking with her eyes averted to the ground. She couldn't bear to look at these people. It hurt, just seeing people in need of food, water, and warmth, and she couldn't do anything about it. Gato's men were doing whatever they wanted without restraint, and she couldn't stop them, otherwise all of them would try and stop her, and she couldn't fight the 30 goons that were in the street. She felt someone grab her in the bad side. She turned around with a fierce tiger-like look in her eyes. Pervert. She kicked high and hit nothing? She did hear a cry of fear. A little boy was crouching with his hands covering his head. He must have been around 8, and he was shaking in fear. Please don't hurt me, I'm sorry. He cried out, very well, near tears. Tsuyomi's eyes widened. Oh no, I'm sorry, I thought you were one of Gato's men trying to touch me. She said, crouching down in front of him. Tsunami and Sakura looked back. Just go ahead, I'll be fine. Tsuyomi said. Sakura nodded, and they resumed walking to the market. So you won't hurt me? He asked. The little boy was wearing dirty brown clothes, black shorts, and had unruly brown hair, with beautiful blue eyes the color of the ocean. I promise, my name is Tsuyomi Tora. She bowed to him. I'm Kyun Kazurama and I'm going to warm everyone here. I just need to learn how to make fire, that's what I wanted to ask you. A ninja should know, right? He asked. What about your father or mother? Tsuyomi asked, fearing the answer. He teared up. I'm an orphan. My dad and mom were killed when they first went to fight Gato. Tsuyomi's heart was torn. Sure, I'll teach you how. Let me tell my friends first that I'll go with you, she said as Kyun nodded. She ran inside the market. Hey, I'm gonna go off on my own for a little bit. Just continue what you were doing, please. Tsunami nodded. Sakura looked like she wanted to object, but nodded anyway. Tsuyomi walked to Kyun. Alright, let's go get some firewood, she said as he took her hand and she walked with him to the woods. Back by the lake, Arashi was getting tired. He had dived approximately 23 times, his head resurfaced. Dang it, that powerful water jutsu Kakashi-sensei did really messed up the lake. He swam back to shore and sighed. Alright, 5-minute break and I resume my search. He stayed in the water till he heard the sound of gravel being crunched under Geta's sandals. He turned around. It was a girl, around 14 years old. She wore a pink sleeveless kimono. She had pale skin and chocolate-colored eyes. Her hair was up in a single bun tied with a cloth and string. Oh hello, I wasn't sure if these belonged to anyone. These I mean, she held up his clothes and gear all neatly folded. Oh yeah, those are mine. I left them there while I looked for something I dropped into the water. He said, leaning on his arms just next to the shore. What did you drop? She asked, looking at him. A broken blade inside a log. It's a long story of how I dropped it. He said, looking back at the lake. I got time, she said, sitting down next to his stuff. Well, you see, I'm a ninja of the hidden leaf. He continued to tell the story of how he got here. Back in the cabin, Danielle was laying down on the couch blowing a feather up in the air, where it then fell back onto her lips and she would blow it up again. She had downed it all morning and was bored out of her mind. She wished Arashi was here to spar with her, or Tsunami, Sakura, and Tsuyomi would return soon. She relaxed and closed her eyes for a while. Her thoughts started to drift. Who was she? Why did she have these wings? Why were her bones hollow? She started to see things, a castle, with knights in armor riding on horses carrying banners with words in another language. An old man, not exactly a grandpa, walked on the bridge. He was dressed in full armor, a crown atop his head, long white hair, and a mustache. On his back a huge claymore sword, his cape colors were the opposite of the knights' banners. He drew his huge sword, got ready, and toward the knights. Just before they clashed, she heard a knocking on the door. She got up breathing hard. What was that? She ran to answer the door. It was Tsunami and Sakura. Hey, where's Tsuyomi-chan? Danielle asked. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.